You can't just hit people. You just wait. I'm calling the cops. Leo Roth clutched his face, fumbling for his phone. You push me first. Can I push your face back? The man with the buzz cut said, his voice thick with a local accent, his tone one of righteous indignation. What? What did I push you? Don't you run. You just wait. Leo was about to have an aneurysm, but the man's eyes held a glint of genuine menace, and he didn't dare make a move. The man didn't run. He just stood there, waiting for the police. When the cops arrived, it was the usual routine, taking statements, writing it all down. Then came the mediation. I don't want his money. He needs to be locked up. I apologize, the man said, his earlier ferocity replaced with what looked like sincere remorse. I was just a little impulsive. He pushed me, and I couldn't help myself. I didn't push him. He hit me. He slapped me right across the face. Leo sputtered, his face red with fury. They were both taken down to the station. Again, mediation. In a city this size, disputes like this were a dime a dozen. Locking someone up meant paperwork and providing meals. Unless it was serious, the unofficial policy was always to mediate. In the end, the man with the buzz cut offered a heartfelt apology, promised it would never happen again, and swore to live a life of peace. Leo Roth walked away with a hollow victory. That evening, in a quiet alley, the man with the buzz cut collected a $300 cash payment. Leo thought it was a coincidence. The next day, he was pulling his car out of a restaurant parking lot when he heard a blood-curdling scream. You ran over my foot. A man, also with a buzz cut, was plastered against his driver's side window. Without a word, he slapped Leo hard across the face. Leo saw him clearly. It wasn't the same guy from yesterday, so he called the police. An apology was offered. The third day, another slap. Another police report. The cops were getting annoyed. The fourth day, he was served with a court summons. He ignored it. That night, coming out of a foot massage parlor, he got slapped again. The fifth day, he got slapped in a crowded elevator. It was always a different person, always for a different, ludicrous reason. When his friends heard about it, they all understood. Old Leo had pissed someone off. They advised him to show up for his court date. After an agonizing night, Leo finally decided to go to court. He might not lose, right? He had a good idea who was orchestrating the slaps, but he had no proof. He didn't even make it out the door without getting slapped again. It wasn't hard, just a stinging, humiliating pain. The police were truly fed up now. Once they learned he was a sleazy online media blogger who fabricated stories, they figured he had it coming. No one was stupid, but the process was the process, and it was a pain. Some of the slap-happy assailants were held for a day or two, but they emerged not discouraged, but cheerful, as if they'd been on a pleasant outing. Leo holed up at home, afraid to go out. But then he found his door lock had been filled with superglue. He was genuinely starting to get scared. The incidents themselves weren't major, but the cumulative effect was maddening. Getting slapped every time he stepped outside wasn't just a physical humiliation. It was psychological torture. And because it was always a different person, every police report was a new, separate dispute. If his tormentor had 30 people on payroll, they could keep this up for a month without a single repeat. 30 separate cases would drive any precinct insane. It was then that Leo Roth finally realized something. He had assumed his target, a famous tech CEO, would be too dignified, too above it all to retaliate. He had been dead wrong. His enemy was not only willing to spend money, but knew exactly how to spend it for maximum effect. Still, he couldn't just sit there and take it. He had to hire a lawyer. Best case, he'd have to issue an apology and take down the post. No big deal. He'd even countersue for intimidation. While waiting for the court date, he decided to stay in, asking his girlfriend to bring him food. But when she arrived, she found people waiting outside his apartment. When she tried to bring the groceries in, they were snatched right out of her hands. She could call the cops, but a few dozen dollars worth of food was nowhere near the threshold for a real investigation. She went back down to buy more. When she came back up, someone else was waiting. She held on for dear life, refusing to let go, until a sharp slap across her face made her drop the bags. The person didn't do anything else, just took the food and left. After getting hit, his girlfriend didn't dare come back. In the dead of night, starving Leo snuck out. To his surprise, no one was watching. He scurried to the street to hail a cab, planning to hide out in Rockford for a while. The ride was uneventful. He hadn't slept well in days and quickly dozed off in the back of the taxi. When he woke up, a police officer was standing in front of him. After figuring out what was happening, he was dumbfounded. Several of the B-list celebrities he had slandered in the past had all filed police reports that evening, providing evidence. And his most recent target had also finally filed a report tonight, claiming severe emotional distress and reputational damage. The sudden flood of connected cases had caught the attention of law enforcement. When the police had gone to his apartment to bring him in, they'd found it empty. He was immediately classified as a fugitive. The Rockford PD had been asked to cooperate, setting up a roadblock at the highway exit to intercept him. This was an official arrest. As he was being led into the station, Leo still clung to a sliver of hope. He could claim it was an emotional outburst, that he'd attacked the CEO in a fit of passion. But then an officer told him they had already received a statement from his girlfriend. She had reported him for extortion and blackmail, for running a pay-to-delete post scheme. In that instant, Leo Roth's heart turned to ash. He might have survived slander and libel, but with extortion and blackmail added to the mix, he was going to prison. Eastwood. When Cole received the latest report, he was in the middle of a very important work conversation with his little moonbeam. Luna was perched at his desk, using his computer to organize financial reports, firing questions at him as she worked. The click-clack of the keyboard under her small hands was a constant, percussive rhythm. When she hit a snag, she'd stare intently at the screen, and if the answer didn't come, she'd purse her lips, cover her mouth, and furrow her brow in deep concentration. As the company's CFO, failing to answer the CEO's questions was simply not an option. Cole held his phone in one hand, scrolling through messages from Mr. Zhao, his lawyer. He was very satisfied. A lawsuit wasn't just about showing up in court. A good lawyer handled all the extra, seemingly minor details, and Zhao was one of the best. Handing this off to him had been the right call. But some of the next steps weren't Mr. Zhao's responsibility. Everyone had their role to play. Cole dialed the number for his head of security, who was currently out of town. Before this goes to court, I want his time in the holding cell to be eventful. No problem, boss. And after he's sentenced, arrange for someone to visit him. Make sure he's well taken care of inside. Understood, boss. After hanging up, Cole's eyes were full of goodwill. A goodwill that felt unnervingly cold. He had no intention of letting this go. He was going to make an example of this man, a warning to any other media types who thought they could get a piece of him for cheap. Of course, if they were willing to pay the price, they were welcome to try. He had complete faith in his security chief, Sasha. She knew a lot of people. They might be what some called bottom rung, but the bottom rung had its advantages. There were a lot of them, and they valued loyalty. The money wasn't paid directly from her, but through two intermediaries, from her to an offshore contact to a local man in the target city, the head of security at an apartment complex. And the people he hired weren't just thugs. They all had day jobs. Sometime earlier, Cole had given Sasha a lump sum of $50,000 to pay off the medical debts from her mother's illness. He had bought her loyalty. Even if this whole operation imploded, the trail would stop with her. Luna glanced at the clock on the wall, then looked back at Cole, her expression pleading as she shook her head. Cole checked the time. This conversation would have to wait. It was 2 p.m. A Facebook message popped up. It was from his campus queen, Serena. Cole, Jasmine was teaching us a dance during our lunch break, and she just suddenly left. It seemed like something made her really angry. Cole's brow twitched. His thoughts spun for a moment, and he had a pretty good idea what was going on. He replied, "Okay, I get it, baby. Serena, baby wants kisses." Cole smiled and typed back, "I'll give you lots of kisses on Saturday." Serena, you devil. You just want to kiss me all over. Cole chuckled. He was a man of propriety, after all. Though he had yet to cross the final threshold with his 3 leading ladies, he could certainly revisit familiar territory. The thought of his campus queen's teary-eyed, pouting face filled him with a renewed sense of purpose. After chatting with Serena for a few more minutes, Cole sent a message to Jasmine. "Cole, Jay, I need to come talk to you about something." If Jasmine replied immediately, even if it was with a furious message, he had to go over right away. He had to let her vent her anger. If she didn't reply, he'd have to wait for her to process it herself. If he wasn't mistaken, she must have found out about him and Luna. Cole knew Jasmine's personality, but in a situation like this, it was hard to predict her next move. Knowing someone wasn't the same as reading their mind. To his surprise, a reply came back within a minute. "Jasmine, I don't want to see you." Reading that, Cole knew exactly what to do. What she was really saying was, "Get over here right now. I'm filled with a rage that has nowhere to go." He felt a pang of guilt, but it only lasted a second. Some things were destined from the start. He was no longer that naive, pure-hearted boy from his past life. He had learned a profound truth. For a man, naive purity is the killer of relationships and marriage. It prevents a man from thinking rationally, from understanding a woman's mind. You think you love her, so you endlessly coddle her, believing that's how you express love. In reality, she feels like you're not scratching the itch. Losing your rationality makes you easy to manipulate. You get angry, and then the woman who is waiting for you to soothe her gets angry too. The cycle repeats until everything breaks. Naive purity also leads a man into one trap after another. Cole had never been one to constantly contact his 3 babies. First, he was genuinely busy. Second, you had to give them space. You had to let the feeling of missing someone have time to ferment. That was the only way to make the relationship more harmonious. He drained the cup of tea on his desk, clearing his mind of extraneous thoughts. Apart from steadily working towards his ambition of a 3-woman household, any other distraction or guilt was meaningless. It wouldn't help him in the slightest. He grabbed his car keys and headed downstairs, driving towards Eastwood Tech to find his Jasmine. Eastwood Tech. The sky was overcast, and a cool breeze signaled the end of summer. Jasmine sat sullenly at her desk. She knew this would happen, knew this day would come. But the moment she realized Luna had become a woman, she was still overwhelmed with a deep sense of unease. Her heart was a bitter mix of sourness and anger. No matter how she tried to talk herself down, she couldn't calm the storm inside. The thought of her boy with Luna, doing that, was unbearable. It was more than unbearable. It was agony. Jasmine, what's wrong? Alex, her best friend, asked from across the room, looking up from her book. Nothing. Summer's over, winter's coming. Just feeling a little down, Jasmine mumbled. I thought you weren't afraid of the cold, Alex said, confused. Her best friend was the most resilient person she knew when it came to cold weather. I'm not afraid of the cold itself, Jasmine said, speaking in a code only she could understand. It's the damp chill in the air that's so uncomfortable. She glanced at her laptop, at the open Facebook Messenger window. Nothing. That bastard hadn't replied. Bastard. So you're not going to reply, huh? Fine. I won't reply either. Let's see how long it takes for you to come and explain yourself. Yeah, the winter's here is so damp and sticky, Alex replied, interpreting the words literally. Jasmine didn't have the energy to continue the conversation. Her eyes stared at the word management in her textbook, but her mind had flown across town to Eastwood University. After a few minutes of trying to hold out, she was burning with impatience. Why hasn't that bastard messaged me back yet? Another 2 agonizing minutes passed. She couldn't stand it anymore. She thought about sending him a message. Her fingers twitched, but ultimately, she didn't send it. No, I refuse. I'm furious, and that bastard won't even come groveling for forgiveness. I hate him. Her usual cool, composed, queenly demeanor had vanished, replaced by a young woman anxiously waiting for her beloved to comfort her. Her hand drifted back to the keyboard. What if he was being stubborn and not messaging her back? Was this how it was going to be? But she really wanted him to explain. Just as she was wrestling with her indecision and pain, her messenger finally chimed. The profile picture was his. Jasmine's heart leaped. It was like seeing a clear path after thinking she'd reached a dead end. But she was also afraid he might say something stubborn and angry. Full of a nervous, fluttering hope, she clicked on the message. As she read it, her eyes lit up instantly. A warmth spread through her. Cole, Jay, I'm in the parking lot downstairs. I miss you like crazy. The gloom on Jasmine's face vanished, as if spring had arrived before winter even had a chance to begin. But on the surface, she maintained a haughty, reserved expression of annoyance. She typed back, "What are you doing in my parking lot? I don't miss you at all." After sending the message, she tossed her phone aside, rushed to the balcony, and snatched a dry skirt off the clothesline. She went into the bathroom, changed out of her shorts, then sat down at her desk to look in the mirror, applying a light touch of lipstick. Alex watched her preen and primp with bewilderment. "Is your Mr. Chen here?" she asked. "He's here. So annoying. I told him not to come, but he just had to," Jasmine said dismissively, pulling her hair up into a messy bun. "Oh yeah, look how happy you are." Alex shot her a disdainful look. "I'm not happy. He's the most annoying person I know. But since he's here, I guess I have to go down," Jasmine said, suppressing the grin that was trying to break free. "Go on, get out of here. And don't you dare come back until you're pregnant," Alex said, turning back to her textbook with a lonely sigh. The comment made Jasmine blush. She didn't know why she'd changed into a skirt. It had just been an instinctive feeling that it would be better. After a quick touch-up, she practically ran down the stairs. The moment she stepped out of the building, her pace slowed to a graceful stroll. Her expression became cool and aloof, as if she were being dragged there against her will. When she reached the parking lot, she saw her boy standing by his car, waving. Jasmine pointedly looked away, broadcasting her displeasure. "Jay, get in," Cole said enthusiastically, pulling open the front passenger door. The fact that she had come downstairs meant she wasn't going to stay furious, but she desperately needed to unleash her anger on him. She didn't even glance at him instead walking around and pulling open the rear door to get in. Cole just grinned, just as he'd expected. If he opened the passenger door first, she'd stubbornly go to the back. The back seat was the main battlefield, after all. The front seats could recline, but the back offered much more room to maneuver. He immediately got in after her. Jasmine stared out the window, giving him the full, silent treatment. "Jay," Cole said, reaching for her hand. She snatched it away. "Don't touch me. I don't want you to touch me," Jasmine said, her pretty face set like stone, her arms crossed over her chest. "An ice queen." "Jay," Cole whined again, shamelessly. Then in one smooth motion, he lay down, resting his head in her lap. Jasmine didn't react, but she also didn't stop him. Cole didn't say anything else. He just turned his face inward, buried his head against her, and wrapped his arms tightly around her slim waist. So soft, so fragrant, so comfortable. After a long moment, Jasmine finally asked coldly, "What are you doing here?" "I just missed you," Cole mumbled, his voice muffled against her. He knew her emotions were right at the brim, about to spill over. "Huh, you missed me? I think you were too busy missing someone else," Jasmine said, her words dripping with acid. "I really missed you. So much," Cole said, deftly avoiding the real issue and sticking to the words she wanted to hear. "You think I'm going to believe you?" Jasmine kept her gaze fixed out the window, afraid to turn and let him see the change in her eyes. "My mind is full of you, Jay. I don't believe a single word. I love you so much." "No, you don't. Every day with you makes my life feel so incredibly complete." "You're full of it. You're not complete at all. It's true. You can listen to my heartbeat. It's the sound of you walking. Sweet talk. Not a single true word in there. Just listen." Cole sat up, scooping her up by the legs and pulling her into his arms. A woman, when left to sit there proudly on her own, can't voice her true feelings. The closer you get, the easier it is for her to lash out. Jasmine started to struggle, refusing to be held. In the end, she lost the battle and found herself held horizontally in his lap. But she stubbornly turned her head away, hiding her face from him. "Jay, when you're sad, my heart hurts, but—" Cole didn't finish the sentence. He knew she understood. His voice dropped. "I'm actually a pretty lazy guy. I just want to live a happy life with you. I've even thought about giving up Headline today. But then I think, without it, would I even be worthy of you?" The words had barely left his mouth when a sharp pain shot through his cheek. Jasmine had pinched him, her eyes fierce. "You say that now that you've tricked me into your grasp. You're acting again, aren't you? You tell me, how many times have you acted like this?" "Huh, not that many times, Jay," Cole said, his heart soaring. The pain on his face was music to his ears. She was finally letting it out. "Not that many," Jasmine said incredulously. "You've been acting since you were 3, pretending you weren't weaned. To trick me. I was little then, and I actually fell for it. Tell me, were you planning to trick me even back then?" "Of course not, Jay," Cole said, his face a mask of misery, while internally he was humming a happy tune. She was bringing up the old days, which meant she was reminiscing about their shared past, reminding him how important she was. "Don't lie. You're a big liar. Always pretending to be so pitiful, just to manipulate me." Jasmine started listing his transgressions, one by one. She remembered every little detail of their childhood. Cole sometimes protested, sometimes admitted fault, playing his part with gusto. At some point, she had shifted from lying across his lap to kneeling. As she spoke, she would punch his shoulder, occasionally even taking a playful hard bite. "Tell me, was this all premeditated?" Jasmine demanded, holding down his misbehaving hands. "Yes, Jay." This time Cole didn't argue. He just stared at her, his eyes full of a burning heat and love that made her heart tremble, nearly breaking her stern facade. She forced herself not to show a hint of softness, saying viciously, "See, you admit it. You were just waiting for me to fall into your trap, weren't you?" "Yes, Jay," Cole admitted again. "I knew it. You were up to no good, plotting against me since you were just a little devil." "Yes, Jay, because you're mine. You'll always be mine. Everyone is yours, right?" "Jay, I can't live without you," Cole said, his gaze deep and affectionate. But he was still dodging the main issue, and his hands were becoming much more forceful. The words threw Jasmine into turmoil. A warm current washed over her, tearing her carefully constructed defenses to shreds. In a daze, she realized it was too late to stop him. She hit him twice, looking fierce, but the blows landed with a gentle touch. Her brows furrowed in helpless complaint. "Oh, I was trying to talk to you about something serious." "I'm listening, Jay. Keep talking. How can I talk now? You're doing this on purpose." "I can't help it. I have no resistance when it comes to you. So it's my fault." "Oh, yes, it's your fault, Jay." You've driven me completely crazy. I don't believe you. Uh. Inside the car, Cole was working hard to explain himself, to soothe Jasmine's wounded heart. Outside, it was quiet. The parking lot was mostly deserted. The few students who passed by were dozens of yards away. No one noticed the slight tremor of the car. A beetle crawled up to the tire and, without hesitation, scurried into the shadow beneath it. It was a dark, secluded environment, perfect for it. The only drawback was the ceiling, which kept rising and falling, making it dizzy. Inside the car, Jasmine's emotions were still pouring out. You bastard. You big liar. You greedy monster. She scolded him for a long, long time. Just as Cole had expected, giving her an immediate opportunity to vent was all it took. Though her words were still full of complaint, he could hear that she was just emphasizing her special place in his life. A special place that he wholeheartedly acknowledged. He said something with a hint of a threat. Jay, without you, I don't want to live. Don't say such things. You've already tricked me this much. Where else could I possibly go? Jasmine lightly smacked his lips, her heart a mix of anger and joy. Her own unspoken feelings were finally voiced. All the fire in her belly had melted away. She knew he loved her. She just wanted to make him squirm a little. Otherwise, her heart wouldn't feel at ease. Thankfully, he understood her. Their foreheads touched, as if they could feel each other's thoughts. No real explanation was needed. One had to offer an apology. The other, forgiveness. A silent current of emotion replaced words. They both knew they were an irreplaceable part of each other's lives. If one were missing, the other's world would descend into darkness. No one but the other could save them. When Jasmine returned to her dorm room, there was no trace of her earlier depression. Her face was flushed and radiant. Her legs, however, were a little shaky. That took a while, Alex asked with a lecherous grin. We went for a walk. Of course it took a while, Jasmine said, humming a happy tune as she shuffled into the bathroom. Well. Someone has company now and doesn't need her best friend anymore, Alex pouted. Headline today. Cole had just gotten back to his office when his phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number from the state capital. Hello, Mr. Shun. The man's voice on the other end was old. He introduced himself. My name is Shun. I'm Serena Shun's grandfather. Serena's grandfather? Why is he calling me? Cole wondered. He replied politely. Hello, sir. How can I help you? Are you having trouble reaching Serena? I'm not looking for my granddaughter. I'm calling you specifically to discuss a business opportunity, Serena's grandfather said with a cheerful laugh. I see. Please go on. Cole wasn't worried about him being an imposter. He could easily verify the number with Serena. It's like this. I saw the ad your headline today ran for the local attractions around here, and they were very effective. I also have a scenic area that hasn't been doing too well since we took it over. I was hoping to speak with you, Mr. Chun, to see if we could achieve the same results. Serena's grandfather got right down to business. This put Cole slightly at ease. It wasn't that he was scared, just that he preferred fewer complications. He asked, Which scenic area are you referring to, sir? Stone Buffalo Ridge in Braxton County. Ever been, the old man replied. Stone Buffalo Ridge? The name rang a bell. After a moment, he remembered. That's the place that faked the Eastern Cougar photo. The fake Cougar photo incident was back in '08. It wasn't that serious, really. The head of the tourism company, the county tourism director, and a local TV reporter had used a picture of a mountain lion from out west and tried to pass it off as an Eastern Cougar, a species long thought to be extinct. It was a marketing stunt to promote the park, but had blown up. Experts from all over the country and even D.C. had taken notice. Unsurprisingly, the hoax was exposed almost immediately. A few county-level officials were no match for a horde of experts. The officials were fired, and the reporter lost his credentials. The park had been struggling ever since. Stone Buffalo Ridge had remained a desolate failure. Even with the rise of the internet, it never gained traction. In 2015, they spent a fortune building a glass skywalk, only to be met with a flood of terrible online reviews. The damage to its reputation was immense. Cole was surprised to learn that the Shun family had taken it over. He answered honestly, I've never been. Is it your family's tourism company that runs it now? Yes. The Shun family is from this part of the state, so we feel it's our duty to help revitalize the local economy. We just haven't been able to get the word out. You've heard of the fake cougar photo incident, Mr. Chun? That marketing attempt was a spectacular failure. The old man sighed, putting on the pained air of a benevolent, heartbroken entrepreneur. Cole mentally dismissed the first half of that sentence. He believed the part about revitalizing the Shun family's finances, but the part about helping the local economy was pure spin. No businessman does anything without a profit motive. I've heard a little about it. What is it you're looking for? I was hoping to partner with Headline today to build up the park's reputation, the old man said directly. Headline today is always happy to collaborate with partners from all sectors, Cole replied, his tone polite but non-committal. He knew nothing about the Shun family. Serena rarely mentioned them. So, his attitude was naturally neutral. After his experience with the Chins, he was more wary. I also know about you and Serena. The old man suddenly shifted to personal matters. We old folks can't control what the younger generation does. As long as you two are happy, that's what matters. But my daughter-in-law comes from a very influential background. You two will face a lot of resistance. When he mentioned his daughter-in-law, a hint of pride crept into his voice. And what is it you're suggesting, sir? Cole asked, his expression calm, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I heard Pacesetter Footwear deposited $10 million with Headline today and got the results they wanted, the old man said, swerving back to business. They did deposit $10 million, Cole said with a slight laugh. For a major shoe company, that's a small expense. He then added, but another important factor in their success was the quality of their product. If Pacesetter hadn't been a good shoe, no amount of advertising would have saved it. Cole had to get that out of the way. Advertising didn't guarantee victory. If it did, there would be no failed businesses. Promoting a tourist destination was incredibly complex. Service quality, infrastructure, ticket prices, all were critical factors. The line was silent for 2 seconds. How about this, Mr. Chun? Do you have time to make a trip out to Braxton County? See the place for yourself. Then you can draft a proposal, and if it looks good, we can move forward. Of course, no problem. I can head out tomorrow morning. If you could arrange for your company to show us around, we'd appreciate it, Cole agreed without hesitation. Business was business, and you had to do the groundwork. You couldn't act high and mighty. A part promotion would be a long-term investment and a significant ad buy. As for whether it would work out, they'd have to talk it through. Cole wasn't treating him as Serena's grandfather. This was a business negotiation. Unless Serena had indicated their relationship was very close, this was the only way to play it. Haha, excellent, the old man laughed. Mr. Chun, you're a man of action. No wonder my little granddaughter sees something special in you. All right, it's settled then. Serena's second uncle is over there. I'll have him pick you up from the station. What time will you arrive? How many people? About 10 of us. Will that be too much trouble for Mr. Shun? Cole remained polite. He purposefully didn't use a title like Grandpa Shun. Mr. Shun could refer to the old man or to Serena's uncle. It was a safe bet. You never took a compliment from an old fox at face value. If you did, you'd already lost. No trouble at all. It's a deal. Just let me know when you have an arrival time. Will do. Thank you, Mr. Shun. After hanging up, Cole immediately messaged Serena and told her what had happened. Half an hour later, after her class ended, she replied, Serena, Cole, I know about that tourism company. It's not doing well. Don't worry about me. Negotiate however you need to. I'll take the day off and go with you. My second uncle is a bit slick. It would be better if I'm there with you. Cole smiled and typed back, Can you get the time off? If your classes are important, you don't have to. Serena replied instantly, I have to. I'm going. Cole, okay. Once you get it approved, I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning. Serena, okay. Cole. Next, Cole posted a message in the management group chat. The team he was taking included Yvonne, Whitney, and a few people from planning. And of course, the bodyguards. The state capital. The Shun residents. Dad, it seems this kid has a bit of an ego. He didn't take the bait at all, said Robert, the second Shin's son. The phone had been on speaker, and they had all heard the conversation. The kid had completely avoided talking about their niece. Perhaps that's one of the reasons for his success. He's very calm, the old man said, taking a sip of tea. Are we really going to work with him? It'll probably cost a lot of money, Robert said, pained at the thought. But if they didn't have any better options. It'll be cheaper than advertising on the state network, the old man said, a sharp glint in his murky eyes. He was old and cunning, and he could calculate the cost difference almost instantly. Besides, getting ad time on TV wasn't easy. You couldn't just throw money at them. You needed connections. Otherwise, they'd stick your ad on at 11 o'clock at night. But they couldn't negotiate like that. They had to put on a show. The old man continued. It's not a sure thing yet. Let's see their proposal first. In the meantime, we can talk to the TV station. We'll buy ads from whoever is cheaper. That's true. With Serena there, if he doesn't even offer a discount, then there's no point in working with him, Robert said. Grandpa, I think that kid doesn't respect you at all. He didn't even call you sir or anything. He's so arrogant, his eldest grandson complained. He's trying to maintain distance. The old man glanced at his grandson. It shows he understands that in business comes first. You need to learn from him. Don't get all flustered the moment someone praises you, the old man said, looking at his 27-year-old grandson with a flicker of regret in his eyes. Was the old saying about wealth not lasting 3 generations true? When you live a life of luxury for too long, your perception of the outside world gets dulled. How could you hear arrogance in that? It was obvious he didn't want me tied down by personal relationships. The old man didn't want to spell it out. Some things had to be learned on one's own. The eldest Shin's son, David, stubbed out his cigarette. If he were a bit more powerful, he and Serena would be a good match. It would be more beneficial for us. The Chins are powerful, yes, but there's not much leverage we can get from them. He's already plenty powerful, the old man chuckled. He's only 19. He has many years to grow. By the time he matures, the big tech titans will be old. If he plays his cards right, he might just be able to go toe-to-toe with them. The Chun family was too big, their political roots too deep to offer many favors. Doing so would open them up to attack from other factions. Even Spencer Chun was only allowed to invest in other companies. He wasn't allowed to run his own business, to prevent him from being set up. You could say that for the sake of the family's continuation, they had chosen a one-way street. Grandpa, I just feel like it's not real. What if he's just a puppet and someone else is pulling the strings? The grandson posited, a full-blown conspiracy theorist. This displeased the old man. What's not real about it? His entrepreneurial journey is right there for everyone to see. Don't be so cynical. Think about where you were at 19, in a bar, fighting over some floozy, and your father had to come bail you out. The grandson's face darkened, feeling the sting of humiliation. The old man continued, if the proposal is good, we negotiate for a discount. We use our connections. Wanting to have your cake and eat it too. That's the art of business. The grandson rubbed his chin, a glint in his eye. Grandpa, do you think it's possible to invest in his headline today? His cash flow is astonishing. Even we would have trouble coming up with that much cash. Low cost, high revenue. It's a gold mine. I just told you about having your cake and eating it too, and you're still not listening. The old man shook his head. We can try. If it doesn't work, no big deal. It's just a question. David Shin spoke up. Even Spencer Chin only invested in Slice Video. It's clear the kid is cautious and has his own plans. For Serena's sake, how could he not give us a few shares? I'll talk to my cousin, have her pass it along, the grandson said confidently. You could try anything. It's just business. It doesn't hurt, the old man said with an encouraging smile. It was just talk. It cost nothing. If they could get a piece of the company, it was a steal. If not, so be it. At this point, Robert interjected. I'll head over there now. I'll make sure they're on their toes and ready to cooperate. Good. Go on, the old man nodded. The tourism company was Robert's responsibility, so he was naturally more invested. The next morning, in Eastwood, Cole picked up Serena and met up with Yvonne and the others. He brought 2 male and 2 female bodyguards. Sasha was still out of town, and Riley had to stay behind to drive Jasmine and Luna. They traveled by short-haul flight. The flight to the regional airport near Braxton County took about 40 minutes. But the drive from the airport to Stone Buffalo Ridge was a grueling 3 hours. It wouldn't be a one-day trip, so everyone packed a change of clothes. As they exited the small regional airport, they saw someone holding a sign. Headline today, Mr. Chun. A minibus was parked nearby. This highlighted one of Stone Buffalo Ridge's biggest problems, transportation. It was a good 120 miles from the airport, a seriously long drive. The conversation in the van kept them from getting bored. Stone Buffalo Ridge was a beautiful place with mountains and rivers. The scenery was genuinely stunning. It was also an old Union stronghold from the coal mining days. When they arrived at the park, they were met by the head of the Shun family's local operations, along with other staff from the tourism company. Uncle Robert, Cousin Claire, Serena called out. Serena, you came too. Robert Shun looked surprised to see his niece. His mind immediately started calculating whether this was a good or bad thing. I did, Uncle. I came with Cole to take a look, Serena smiled. Well, that's wonderful. It's been too long since I've seen you, Robert said, his expression warm and paternal, though his mind was racing. Serena, I thought you had classes. Her cousin, Claire Shun, greeted her enthusiastically. The 2 cousins started chatting. Meanwhile, Cole extended his hand. Mr. Shun, a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for having us. The middle-aged man in front of him bore a slight resemblance to Serena's father, David, and was handsome in his own right. He was dressed head to toe in designer brands, though his hairline was significantly higher than David's. His face was a bit puffy with bags under his eyes, clearly a man who did a lot of entertaining. Mr. Shun, a true prodigy. You put me to shame, Roberts said, his face wreathed in a welcoming smile. You're too kind. I've just been lucky, Cole said humbly. Let me introduce you. This is the general manager of our park management company, Mr. Lou, Roberts said, introducing the two main managers behind him. The park staff looked on with undisguised amazement. Cole and his team were so young. In their company, people this young were all entry-level employees. The management staff didn't know much about Headline today. They used the internet for email and Google searches. That was about it. They couldn't imagine how this Headline today could possibly promote anything. Only the GM, Mr. Lou, had done some last-minute cramming. The young woman next to Robert wasn't introduced. She was probably his secretary. Mr. Chen, why don't we walk and talk? Robert said with a welcoming gesture. Despite being Serena's uncle, he didn't put on any airs. This, Cole thought, made him a formidable opponent. It meant he didn't care about formalities and wouldn't hesitate to drive a hard bargain. Of course. Thank you, Mr. Chen. The group headed into the park. There were very few tourists outside the main gate. A dozen or so cars were parked, likely all self-drives. Inside, they saw one tour group of about 15 people listening to a guide. The park had its own tour company, a self-contained operation. Whitney and the others immediately switched into work mode. Some started filming, others took notes. Yvonne's main job was to accompany Cole and listen to his conversations. Serena walked with her cousin, chatting quietly about personal matters. Serena, I heard you're working as a lawyer for this Headline today. Claire asked. Yes, I just provide some legal advice, Serena said with a modest, reserved smile. You don't have a title? Claire pressed. I do. I'm the head of the legal department and a vice president. Serena hadn't wanted to say it, feeling it was too high profile. But she had to. Her cousin would have kept asking until she got an answer. What? A vice president? Claire's expression went slack, her jaw dropping. A VP wasn't just any position. It was part of the core management team. And her cousin was how old? Just a sophomore in college. So this is real love, Claire thought. Otherwise, who would give a sophomore a vice president title? A sugar daddy situation was out of the question. Her cousin would never be associated with something like that. Serena just nodded. Yes, my skills are still a bit raw, but I'm working hard to learn. As she spoke, a warmth spread through her. The job was a perfect fit. She had a team to work with. She had meaningful things to do. It didn't interfere with her classes, and it wasn't stressful. Only Cole would cherish her like this. If she had gone into politics, there would have been so many rules to follow, her nerves constantly on edge. She couldn't even imagine what that would be like. At that thought, her loving gaze drifted to Cole, who was walking ahead with her uncle. Does their side know about you and Mr. Chen? Claire asked, hesitating. It was strange. Normally, people would ask if the Shun family knew. But here she was, worried about her mother's side of the family. Yes, they know, Serena nodded. What? They know. And they approve. Claire's mouth hung open. This was astonishing. It wasn't strange that her cousin was dating, but that their side knew was very strange indeed. She knew her aunt well. Outwardly gentle, inwardly steel, singularly focused on grooming her daughter for a political career. How could she possibly approve? It's my personal business. I'm an adult, Serena said with a small smile. So, I mean, them, over there, your uncles, they know too? Claire's curiosity grew. They know. We met in D.C. My uncles and my grandfather have all met him. Serena didn't hide it. It was actually better for the Shun family to know some things. It would avoid unnecessary trouble, like them trying to set her up on another blind date and making things awkward. They've really met? And they approve. Claire's jaw still hadn't closed. Several high-ranking members of the Chun family had met the boy. Whether they approve or not is my business. No one can interfere with my freedom, Serena said, her gaze drifting to the distant mountains. That told Claire what she needed to know. They didn't approve, but that was normal, wasn't it? Even when the Shun family tried to arrange a blind date, they had to find someone from a sufficiently powerful family just to get past the Chens. But unfortunately, they always hit a wall with her cousin. And most importantly, her third uncle, David Shun, never took a side. He neither supported nor opposed it. His thoughts were a mystery. In an instant, Claire's mind raced. If the Chen family didn't approve, why hadn't they intervened? If old Mr. Chen gave the word, Headline today would probably face immense difficulties. This was what she found most baffling. Serena, how is Headline today doing now? I heard Dad say it's doing very well with a lot of cash flow. Although Claire was young, she didn't know much about the company. She only used blogs. It's doing great. There are so many ads we can't even count them. A lot of companies just register an account on the back end, deposit money themselves, and sign an electronic contract, Serena said, her smile broadening. She had helped with the e-contract system, which gave her a great sense of participation. She explained further, for something like a park, it's a full-service deal with us. But in the future, you could also just deposit money and promote it yourself. It's simple and easy to use. How does that work? You just post pictures. Claire didn't quite get it. You can post your own photos and videos, or you can hire influencers to post for you. Influencers are just users with a lot of followers like big-name bloggers. They create a buzz and spread the word about the park. It's not expensive either, Serena patiently explained. You should check out Headline today when you have time. It's really interesting. Okay, I'll take a look tonight, Claire said, half convinced. Cole even went to the National Tech Summit in August. Indeed. See, with all the big tech moguls. He was on CNN, you know. Serena's eyes sparkled as she entered full-on praise her man mode. Really? I was a bit dazed. She rarely paid attention to such things. In the brick-and-mortar world, all she cared about was foot traffic. She'd heard the tech summit, but it went in one ear and out the other. Cole is very famous. A lot of officials were watching him on stage. Some bad people tried to give him a hard time, but he gave them a hard time instead. Serena's eyes were filled with joy and pride, her love for him practically radiating off her. Amazing, Claire thought. The most amazing thing is that he can make you praise him like this, like you've drunk a love potion. At that moment, she had to believe it. Her cousin, always as cool and untouchable as a saint, was truly, deeply in love. She couldn't help but pull out her phone and Google National Tech Summit Cole-chun. Serena didn't disturb her. Cole's moment in the spotlight deserved to be known by more people. In the few minutes it took to walk and read on her phone, Claire's curiosity turned to shock. It was true. On that stage were several powerful, high-ranking government officials, and he had dared to pound his chest and shout. At first glance, it looked childish, but the thing was, his age made it appropriate. The officials weren't displeased. They applauded. He has to have connections, right? No wonder he dared to pursue her cousin. Claire's mind immediately invented a powerful backstory for him. After she finished reading, her expression was strange as she asked, "You've really fallen in love with him?" Yes, it'll be him and no one else, Serena said, looking her cousin straight in the eye, her tone serious. All right, I hope you'll be happy together, Claire said with a smile, offering her blessing. But inwardly she sighed. Any future attempts by the Shun family to arrange a match were probably doomed. Before they could try, now there was no point. She also sighed for another reason. Such an outstanding man was truly the best a woman could hope for. If he could treat her cousin well for the rest of their lives, then her cousin would surely be happy. But successful men didn't always have good tempers, and they might play around. Claire glanced at Cole walking with her father, then lowered her voice even more. What's his temper like? Does he ever disappear on you? Or take a long time to text back? Are there other women? That one, walking next to him, she's also very pretty. What's her relationship with him? She fired off a volley of questions. That's the vice president of our business center. She's brilliant at what she does, and a very good person, Serena said, also glancing at Yvonne. Then a blissful smile spread across her face. His emotions are incredibly stable. He never gets angry. He never sulks. He's even more stable than my father, and my father sulks. As long as he's not busy, he always replies quickly. He spoils me rotten. Serena dodged the question about other women. She couldn't answer it. To say no would be a lie, but to say yes would be even worse. Her cousin would dig and dig until she got to the bottom of it. Serena had thought about this question more than once. Who didn't want to have him all to herself? She had even considered a permanent solution, but she immediately gave up on the idea, especially after Sabrina and Ning appeared. It was obvious that Cole was utterly disgusted by Sabrina. If she used schemes to deal with Jasmine and Luna, she would be no different. Cole would surely grow to despise her too. She didn't want that, and she couldn't bear it. Jasmine was a good person, and Luna was so kind. The three of them weren't as close as sisters, but there was no friction between them. They had slept in the same bed several times, talked a lot, and it was actually very relaxing. Logically, it was incredible, a bit like concubines waiting together for the emperor. Serena didn't know how she had come to accept it. She just didn't find it that repulsive. During her time at university, she had seen plenty of relationships between boys and girls. Her roommates had each been in at least two. They would cry their eyes out during a breakup, only to have a new boyfriend a week later. One roommate's ex became another roommate's boyfriend. When things were sweet, it was all honey this and baby that. When they fought, they would scream at their phones and smash things. The air would be thick with misery. Serena hated that. She didn't even know what it felt like to argue. After seeing the example set by her roommates and other students, she had completely lost all curiosity about fighting. It looked dramatic and exciting, but wasn't it just emotional abuse? She thought it was better to be peaceful. Well, not entirely peaceful. That devil was always patting her but and staring at her feet, and he made her do so many embarrassing things. It made her heart feel like it was bungee jumping. Ugh, that devil, that devil. Serena, are you okay? Why are you covering your face? Claire looked at her, utterly baffled. They were having a normal conversation, and suddenly her cousin was covering her face and giggling like a lunatic. Has she gone crazy? Huh? Oh, nothing. I was just thinking about something, Serena said, mortified. She had been so lost in thought she'd forgotten her cousin was even there. Serena, you've changed, Claire said, looking at her cousin with a strange expression. I haven't changed. I'm still me. The me that I like, Serena smiled. She understood her cousin's confusion, but didn't offer any more explanation. Claire was a smart woman. She would understand. Claire did understand. She was just amazed by her cousin's transformation. If Serena had been with a normal college student, this change would have been fleeting, the ending inevitably painful. But her cousin was incredibly lucky. She and a powerful man were mutually in love. They wouldn't have to deal with the mundane struggles and various hardships of ordinary people. Claire felt a pang of envy. She had also dated a classmate in college, but it hadn't ended well. A wealthy girl like her was destined not to choose her own partner. She couldn't handle a life of pinching pennies. And the beautiful dream of finding a good match from an equally wealthy family who was also madly in love, that was pure fantasy. It basically didn't exist in reality. There wasn't a single rich kid who didn't fool around. She could imagine her future. She would inevitably be paired with some rich heir, a living link between two families. Even if she was unhappy, she'd have to swallow her pain. If they could just stay out of each other's way and maintain a facade of a marriage, that would be a good outcome. At that moment, Cole and Robertson were walking at the front, about 30 feet ahead of the others. Mr. Chun, to have achieved this level of success in just a year is truly astonishing, Robert remarked. It's all luck, Cole said, a slight smile playing on his lips, trying not to appear too proud. You're too modest, Mr. Chun. This isn't something you can achieve with just luck, Robert said, giving Cole a meaningful look. You must have faced quite a few challenges this past year, haven't you? Indeed, Cole wasn't lying. The biggest challenge had been constantly adjusting his own mentality. His career looked smooth on the surface, but the psychological pressure was real. He dreamed about how to stay ahead of the competition. For a student to overcome the challenges of starting a business is truly remarkable, Robert added. Cole heard the subtext. He was saying, you have someone powerful backing you. And he did. Serena's uncle Harrison was one. He had leveraged his power, for instance, to get the difficult license for Slice Video. And with his shares in the company, it was enough to deter some of the smaller predators. He decided to play it mysterious. He sighed. Alas, I'm just a student. What could I possibly do? If it weren't for the help of a benefactor, I don't know how many hurdles I would have had to cross. Robert's eyes lit up. So there is someone behind him. He just didn't know how powerful this benefactor was. Could it be that the Chun family's reluctance to act was also because they were wary of this person? He tried to probe further. Mr. Chun, you don't need to be so self-deprecating. Having a benefactor is a form of strength in itself. At least in Eastwood, no one dares to cause you trouble. Cole pretended to think for a moment, then nodded decisively. That's true, and no one has caused me trouble outside of Eastwood either. When I went to D.C. for the tech summit, I also met many friendly people. For a businessman, nothing was more intimidating than mystery. Otherwise, he might get some strange, greedy ideas. Robert was shaken. It seemed this benefactor's influence was significant. No wonder the Chin family hadn't made a move. He was sure that countless people in the country had their eyes on Headline Today right now. Last night, he had done a little research on the company. It was an absolute goldmine. The R&D costs were high, but the returns were even higher. It was faster and more convenient than advertising on TV, and you didn't have to schmooze with station executives. The reach was vast, and it could instantly penetrate the market down to the consumer level. If Headline Today didn't have a powerful backer, many would have already made a move. But it was an internet product, so there were few openings for attack. They were limited to issues of online content decency and taxes. As long as those two things were in order, there was no way to find fault. Unlike a physical business, where you could always find something wrong if you looked hard enough, unless you resorted to dirty tricks. And this Mr. Chun traveled with bodyguards, showing he was already prepared for that. Robert's mind raced. Of course, the Shun family wanted to invest in Headline Today, but now wasn't the right time to bring it up. It was better to let his nephew broach the subject. Robert steered the conversation back to the park. Mr. Chun, I saw the promotions Headline Today did for the attractions around Eastwood. They were very effective. I'm just not sure if we can achieve the same results here. Mr. Chun, most of Eastwood's attractions are in the city or its suburbs. The distance is a major convenience, Cole reminded the older man, lest he start making demands for guaranteed results. He continued, the distance here is a major drawback. But for a scenic mountain park, it's not unusual. What it lacks is a certain cultural depth. Headline today will focus on that aspect. Mr. Shin, what I can guarantee is that Headline today will do its utmost. But your company will also need to fully cooperate. Cultural depth was about creating a story and an atmosphere. And for Headline today, creating an atmosphere was easy. It was a shame the Shun family had found him so late. Otherwise, they could have made a killing during fall break. Cooperation is a given. If it can get the park on the map, we're willing to contribute both money and effort. I'm glad to hear you say that, Mr. Shun. Cole smiled. However, there is one thing that will require a significant effort on your part to ensure the park's long-term prosperity. What is it? Robert was curious. You need to work with the county government to create a safe tourist town. And I mean safe. Cole's smile vanished, his tone turning serious. Braxton County had produced some famous figures in its history, and it was the site of a major union uprising. But the local culture was also notoriously rough. Organized crime was a problem. Family-based, gang-based, all sorts of forms. There were constant crackdowns, but it always came back. In the years to come, over 170 different criminal organizations would be dismantled in the area. This was another reason why Stone Buffalo Ridge wasn't popular. They had to create a safe tourist county to ensure that visitors wouldn't be harmed. Otherwise, no matter how good the ads were, it would be useless. One incident, and all their work would be destroyed in an instant. Think of all the young women who might be drawn in by the ads, traveling with their friends. Robert fell silent. He was, of course, aware of the situation. It wasn't like there were murders and robberies. It was more like gangs stopping transport trucks, illegal mining, occupying farmland, extorting local business owners. There were also some cases of bullying and assault. It seriously affected the local economy. But this was not an easy problem to solve. Mr. Shun, think of the revenue a popular tourist area would bring, Cole added, fanning the flames. Think of the benefits to the county government, driving the local economy. That's a major political achievement. The Shun family wanted to make money. The county government wanted political victories. In the face of profit, what were a few criminal organizations? Just a disorganized mob. Done. Robert Shun said, gritting his teeth. He would talk to his father tonight. They would fund and support the county government in cleaning up Braxton County. They had thought about doing it before, but with the park failing, they lacked the motivation. They had been on the verge of abandoning the investment entirely. Seeing that Robert had taken his words to heart, Cole felt a sense of relief. With that kind of attitude, there was a real chance of success. The two men then discussed ticket prices, services, and other matters. The on-site inspection was exhausting work. They had to visit every major attraction. Luckily, there were rest areas inside the park. After a lunch break, they continued in the afternoon. Robert was drenched in sweat, panting, and out of breath. He looked like he was about to collapse, so he didn't join them for the second half of the day. Only the park's general manager and 2 staff members accompanied Cole's team. It wasn't until after 5 in the afternoon that they finally left the park. Robert treated them to a lavish dinner at the best hotel in town. After the meal, the GM, Mr. Lou, flushed with alcohol, gave Cole a subtle wink and a suggestive eyebrow raise, hinting at further entertainment. Cole understood the meaning, but how could he dare? Serena's big, bright eyes were fixed on him. A picture of virtue, Cole politely but firmly declined the offer of certain kind of entertainment. He would be getting his feet washed tonight, just not his own. The rooms arranged by the Shun family were on the upper floors of the hotel, which also housed a nightclub. In a place like this, the benefits of having bodyguards were obvious. It was a chaotic mix of people. Although the Shun family had contracted the park and hailed from the state capital, you could never be too sure. The formidable presence of 4 retired Special Forces soldiers was plain to see. Anyone who wasn't an idiot could tell they were not to be messed with. The young women in his group attracted a lot of attention, but one look at their entourage was enough to extinguish any curiosity. Serena declined her cousin's offer to share a room. She was, of course, going to sleep with her Cole. In the end, for safety, Cole had Yvonne and Whitney each share a room with a female bodyguard. The 2 women from the planning department were given a room in the middle, flanked by the rooms of the male students and the 2 male bodyguards. Once inside the room, Cole did a thorough check for hidden cameras. When he turned around, Serena was already standing there with her arms outstretched, pouting. "Cole, I haven't hugged my baby in so many days." "That's right. Come here, baby. Let me give you a good hug." Cole grinned, opening his arms. Serena rushed forward excitedly and leaped into his arms, wrapping herself around him. Her legs swayed happily back and forth. A smile played on her lips as she nuzzled his shoulder and murmured, "So comfy." Hanging in his arms, the day's fatigue melted away. It was magical. His misbehaving hands happened to be perfectly placed to improve her circulation. "Then let's hug for a while longer," Cole said, lovingly sniffing her hair. Even after a long day outside, it still smelled wonderful, with no hint of grease. "Okay," Serena cooed, but then worried he might be tired. "Is this tiring for you? Have I gained weight recently?" "Not tiring at all. In fact, I think you've gotten thinner. Please don't lose any weight." "This is perfect." Cole decisively chose the correct answer. "I don't exercise much, so I'm afraid of getting fat. I need to work out more with Jasmine. She seems to be in a good mood again. Said she'll teach us to dance again on Saturday." "What kind of dance are you learning? Tell me." "It's a secret. Jasmine said not to tell you." "Oh, so it's something I'm not allowed to know." Cole feigned disappointment. "You devil. It's for you to watch. You're just pretending of." Serena, ever so clever, saw right through him. "Then won't I be in for a treat?" "Oomph." "Of course, you'll be in for a treat," Serena said, a hint of playful resentment in her eyes. The three of them dancing for him. How could he not be in for a treat? It wasn't like it was a solo for her. "One day, you have to dance for me alone. Wear that little cat costume." Cole whispered in her ear. "That dance isn't suitable for the cat costume." "Then what is it suitable for?" "Gauze and a skirt." "Can it be just the gauze, without the skirt?" "Ah, Cole, you're such a pervert." "Am I?" "Yes, you are. So will baby wear it or not?" "I'm not telling you, you pervert." Cole held her by her pert bottom and walked back and forth in the room. Serena, in turn, started telling him about the Shun family. They were involved in a bit of everything: tourism, hotels, small appliances. They had also dabbled in real estate. They had a lot of assets, but not a lot of liquid cash. The other things were fine, but they used to always try to set her up on blind dates. She had just come of age, and they were already trying to use her for a marriage alliance. It was incredibly frustrating. She didn't want to be burdened with anything else, especially not her own happiness. So her feelings for the Shun family had cooled. Cole listened silently. Serena really had it tough. On one side, a family pushing her to be a political powerhouse. On the other, a family wanting to use her looks and charm to gain connections. Sigh. Well, at least that wouldn't happen anymore. As long as Serena was willing, he would never let go. After chatting for a while, Serena swung her legs. "Cole, I'm going to take a shower." "Okay, I'll walk you." No, you'll be bad." "I won't. I'm a perfect gentleman." "No, you're not." "All right, then. I will force myself to be a gentleman." Cole carried her into the bathroom and set her down, saying gently, "You wash up first, then I'll come in." He was about to turn and leave when he saw her stomp her foot, pouting. No. "Then what am I supposed to do if I can't be a gentleman?" Cole, the devil, looked troubled. "I'll allow you to be 0.5 of a gentleman," Serena said, biting her lower lip, her hands behind her back as she swayed. Her bright, dark eyes were shimmering. "Well, all right then." Cole reluctantly accepted the 0.5 offer. By the time they finally finished their shower, they were both overcome with drowsiness. A full day of running around was genuinely tiring. Strangely, they agreed to sleep head to toe. Cole lay on his back, while his adorable campus queen lay on her stomach. At first, Serena protested, lifting her foot to block his mouth and nose, preventing him from breathing. Cole, of course, had to fight back. They wrestled playfully for a while. After lying like that for a long time, Serena started whining that she wanted to be held and that she was thirsty. Cole pulled her into his arms, then got some water, taking a sip himself. After she drank, he held the exhausted girl, patting her back like a child. In no time, she was fast asleep, occasionally smacking her lips. She slept soundly. Cole, however, didn't fall asleep until much later. He remained vigilant. This wasn't a five-star hotel in the capital or Hawaii. It was better to be cautious. In the middle of the night, a strange noise at the door woke him. It was definitely the sound of a keycard, but the door was deadbolt and the security chain was latched. An outsider couldn't get in. He quietly slipped out of bed, went to the door, and looked through the peephole. A woman was standing outside. She was wearing a short leather skirt and black fishnet stockings. Her makeup wasn't heavy, and she looked to be in her late 20s. Her features were decent. The woman was texting on her phone. Did she get a call for a job and go to the wrong room? Cole wondered. But looking closer, that didn't seem right. The woman didn't have the look of a prostitute. She looked more like a mistress. So, they're trying to pull a honey trap. There was a type of honey trap where they sent a woman indirectly. She'd pretend to be drunk and go to the wrong room. As soon as you opened the door, no matter what you said, she'd flop onto the bed and pretend to be asleep. Then you'd think you hit the jackpot, finding a drunk girl. The moment you made a move, her accomplices would burst in. They probably thought he was sleeping alone. But why would they think that? How did they know? Or was it purely a mistake? The woman glanced at the door one last time and then walked away. Cole didn't make a sound. He didn't call the bodyguards. He just went back to bed. As long as they couldn't get in, it wasn't a problem. Going out to find her would only complicate things. Serena wrapped herself around him like an octopus. The rest of the night passed without incident. The next morning, after saying their goodbyes to the Shun family, Cole took Yvonne and Serena back to Eastwood. Whitney and her team stayed behind to continue working on the creative concept. The 4 bodyguards also stayed to protect them. Cole didn't suspect Robert Shun of being behind last night's incident. There was no reason for him to do something like that. He couldn't use it as blackmail. Braxton County Park Management Company. What the hell were you thinking? Robert Shun roared. Mr. Shun, I misunderstood. I thought he was just being shy in front of his employees. The GM, Mr. Lou said with a sheepish look. There are some things you don't know. Even if he wanted it, he wouldn't do it at a time like this. Robert didn't mention his niece. This Lou character had gotten drunk and taken matters into his own hands, trying to curry favor. He assumed all the people with Cole were just employees, completely overlooking the fact that they were all beautiful young women. Would a man like that be lacking for female company? They were all employees, yes, but one of them had another status. Lou had even tried to be clever, sending a mature woman, thinking young men couldn't resist the allure of an older woman. Robert hadn't paid attention to the room arrangements, but from what his daughter had said, his niece was most likely in the room too. If they had managed to get the door open, things would have gotten very ugly. Thank God. I was wrong. My intentions were good. I just wanted to build a good relationship, get Mr. Chin to put his heart into it. Maybe give us a discount, Mr. Lou hurriedly admitted. He was also embarrassed. He had been drunk and had treated it like entertaining any other client. Don't you ever pull this kind of stunt on him again. Remember that. Robert glared at him. I understand, Mr. Shun. Eastwood. The first thing Cole did when he got back to Eastwood was go to the DJI flagship store and buy a top-of-the-line drone. He had 2 of the male students from the planning department take it to Stone Buffalo Ridge. Whitney needed it. 2 days later, the planning team's proposal was ready. It included some of Cole's own ideas. It wasn't just a single ad, but a whole series. Different people with different moods in different locations. Clever use of camera angles to draw the viewer into the emotion. The proposal also required the park to put on live performances, reenacting the famous Braxton Union uprising to add cultural atmosphere. For the other unique rock formations, they would use drone shots from a bird's-eye view, taking the audience on a journey from a traveler's perspective to experience the magnificent, colorful landscape. There was much more. The planning department had worked overtime to complete the detailed plan. Although Whitney was usually blunt, when it came to work, she was meticulous. At least, Cole, with his future knowledge, was very satisfied with the proposal. He emailed it to Robert Shun. He thought the man would take a couple of days to consider it, but a call came at 8 o'clock that night. Cole had just gotten back to his dorm. Hello, Mr. Shun. Hello, Mr. Shun. I saw the proposal, read it all in one go. It's good. This is really good. Headline today is truly impressive. Robert's voice was tinged with excitement, like someone who had never seen anything like it. I'm glad you're satisfied, Mr. Shun. Cole smiled. Although the market wasn't as saturated as it would be in the future, people's desire for both relaxation and excitement was the same. At the very least, the surrounding states would be interested. It could also become a top choice for corporate team-building events. The proposal even included a section on that. It's brilliant. I was captivated just reading it, let alone the tourists. And the way you've tailored it for different age groups is just masterful. Robert lavished him with praise. Mr. Shun, the ads are easy. But don't forget what I told you, Cole reminded him. The construction of a safe tourist county had to start immediately. Don't worry. I'll start working on it right away. The historical reenactments are no problem either. I'll hire a performance troupe from the state capitol. Excellent. I'll come to Eastwood tomorrow to sign the contract with you and take a tour of Headline today while I'm at it. You are most welcome. At that point, Cole finally relaxed. This deal was probably in the bag. If the park became a hit, it would be another testament to the power of Headline today's promotional abilities. Hey, Cole. Preston called out once Cole hung up the phone. What's up? What do you think about me starting a studio? You can. We can register it under Headline Today or Slice Video. Cole was surprised. He had been planning to suggest Preston start a studio, but he hadn't expected him to bring it up himself. He asked, what made you suddenly think of this? I feel like there's so much more I can do. Headline Today now is not the same as it was last year, Preston said with a serious expression. Back then, I was just having fun. But now I realize that with just me and Javi, it's hard to scale up. Filming, editing, writing operations. It takes up so much time, we can't keep up. Look, Amy has twice as many followers as I do. Twice Cole. I can't catch up. I have to mass produce. I have to outproduce her. Good. That's the spirit. Cole gave him a thumbs up. Preston was getting competitive. He seemed to have a real fixation on being an influencer, determined to have the most followers. Cole, I'll need to hire an operations assistant, so my costs will go up. So, does Headline Today offer any support for studios? Yes. We'll raise your revenue share. Great. That's all I needed to hear. You have someone in mind for the new assistant? It's that girl we met in Hawaii. She's a junior at the teacher's college. You charmed her. No, she just broke up with her boyfriend. She was on that trip to clear her head. I was just talking business. All right then. Cole wanted to nurture the influencer economy, to bind users more tightly to Headline Today. He believed that more studios would slowly start to appear. Hey Cole, Frank turned around. Will there be studios for novels in the future? There will be. Mass production, you know. When you decide to retire, you can sell courses on how to write tropey revenge novels. Cole chuckled. The next morning, just as he was pulling his car out of the parking lot, Sabrina Ning blocked his path, holding a bouquet of roses. A few yards away, her roommate stood, holding up her phone, probably already recording. Cole, I like you. Be my boyfriend. Sabrina stood in front of his car, holding the roses out to him. Her voice was loud, attracting the attention of the surrounding students. Holy crap, isn't that Sabrina Ning? She's making a move. Who else could it be? She already struck out at the singing competition, and now she's back for more. This is going to be good. Isn't Cole dating that other girl? This is so juicy. Too bad I'm not the main character. I bet there's going to be a cat fight. You guys think he'll say yes? In the car, Cole's eyes narrowed. This drama queen was really taking her performance to the next level. Cole, I like you. Please agree to be my boyfriend. Sabrina's gaze was full of infatuation, like a pure, innocent girl bravely chasing after the love of her life. Cole opened the car door and got out. This move immediately galvanized the growing crowd of onlookers. Sabrina looked down shyly, as if she had mustered all her courage. Deep in her eyes, a flicker of excitement flashed. How would Cole respond? It didn't matter whether he refused or not. As long as she did this a few more times, he would surely start to believe it was real. Cole slowly walked up to Sabrina, his gaze sharp and probing, looking straight into her eyes. Are you a psycho? Which asylum forgot to lock its doors? Are you that bored? You think your acting is so great? A spoiled little rich girl who has to be the center of attention everywhere she goes? You think it's fun to just barge into people's lives? Are you so idle you're just asking for a slap? Huh. Cole's voice was loud and clear, with no attempt to hide it. His words stunned the onlookers. Sabrina could barely hold onto the flowers. She had never been yelled at like this in her life. She had expected a polite refusal, maybe even a secretly pleased one. After all, being pursued by Sabrina and Ning couldn't possibly be an unpleasant experience for any man. But Cole was calling her a psycho? Asking for a slap? In front of all these people? Where was his class? Sabrina's face turned pale. She felt utterly humiliated. A thick wave of shame washed over her. Cole. Sabrina's lips trembled. Don't call me that. I don't deserve it. I thought I made myself clear enough. I thought I was polite enough. But you still have to come and make a scene. Do you think you're the smartest person in the world? Cole. I just. Tears welled up in Sabrina's eyes. Still acting, are we? Sabrina, if you keep this up, I'm not going to play by the rules anymore. I'm telling you right now. And when the time comes, I'll have something to say to your family too. Cole's voice was calm, but his eyes held a vicious glint. This woman was still performing. A girl from a major business family, naturally proud and arrogant. Would she really be this meek? Even now, she was projecting an image of weakness, try to win his sympathy and that of the other students. Sabrina fell silent, a flicker of barely perceptible panic in her eyes. With her intelligence, she knew Cole was serious. But the panic lasted only a moment. With the Ning family behind her, she wasn't afraid of anything. What could Cole do to her? Hit her? She would welcome it. With a camera rolling and so many students watching, if Cole dared to hit her, she would win. Sabrina's resolve hardened, but her face wore a look of tragic beauty. Cole, I'm not acting. I'm just expressing my feelings. Maybe. I was just being sentimental. It's not maybe. You are being sentimental. You've still chosen to continue this. The viciousness in Cole's eyes receded, replaced by an extreme calm. He slowly walked closer to Sabrina, leaning in to stare at her beautiful, yet repulsive, face. He said in a low voice, I'm not surprised. Because you're just trash, and I know how to deal with trash like you. Hearing the word trash, Sabrina's stomach churned. A thick wave of humiliation washed over her, almost making her break character and scream at him. But looking into those unnaturally calm eyes, for some reason, she felt a flicker of fear. She wasn't afraid of his anger. If he dared to hit her, the students would surely swarm, and Headline Today's reputation would be ruined. Headline Today, founder Cole, Chun assaults freshman girl. The news would immediately go viral. After a careful investigation, it would be revealed that Cole had harassed her and, upon being rejected, had flown into a rage and hit her. Sabrina both wanted him to hit her and didn't. If he hit her, she would lose the pleasure of a natural conquest. What she wanted most was for him to submit to her emotionally, to turn him into her dog. But at this moment, things were heading in a different direction. It wasn't anger leading to violence, nor was it about emotion. And he clearly didn't care about his image, directly calling her trash. This threw her off balance. It was the unknown that frightened her. She had never heard the word trash directed at her in her life. The extreme insult was overwhelming, and her face flushed with shame. But it wasn't entirely unpleasant. Cole looked at the girl holding the phone nearby and said coldly, "Give me the phone." The girl, one of Sabrina's roommates, Bella, looked startled. She glanced at Sabrina. Cole said again, "You shouldn't get involved in this. Come on, give it to me. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time here." "I'm not kidding." Bella hesitated, looking back and forth between them. Sabrina remained silent, but her meaning was clear. If you give it to him, we're no longer friends. But Cole was staring at her coldly. She was just a freshman. How could she dare to offend the boss of Headline Today? Cole beckoned with his finger. "I'm losing my patience. If you don't give it to me, I'll have my lawyer sue you for invasion of privacy." "I'm serious, freshman." "Cole, that's her personal property. You have no right to take it," Sabrina said suddenly. "I don't want yours." Let me see it," Cole said to Bella, not even looking at Sabrina. "I'll count to 3. If you don't give it to me, fine. Get ready to be served by a court. 1, 2. "Don't hear." Bella couldn't take it anymore. She timidly handed over the phone. A court summons sounded terrifying. She glanced at Sabrina and quickly looked down. Sabrina's face was frosty. She said nothing more. Bella's heart pounded. It looked like her friendship was over. Cole deleted the video from the phone and handed it back. He gave Bella a friendly smile. "Take it. Don't do this kind of thing again. If anyone threatens you or lays a hand on you, you tell me. I'll back you up. I can apply to the school to get you a new dorm room if you need it. I mean it. Cole, I don't need to change dorms right now. But if I need help later, can I?" Bella asked meekly. "Of course. You can come find me anytime. Also, if you want to work at Headline Today in the future, you can come find me too," Cole added another offer. First, dismantle her support system. He couldn't get physical, but breaking her down psychologically was far crueler. This kind of trash deserved to have a mental breakdown. Hearing this, Bella's face lit up. Who would want to work at Headline Today? She was a music major, but she could be an influencer. She had been so envious of Headline Today's top influencer, Amy. Like her, she was an art student from a normal family. Suddenly, Bella's respect and fear for Sabrina vanished. Cole didn't forget to smile and nod at the other girl. He wanted to isolate Sabrina, not the girl who gave him the phone. Just then, Sabrina spoke up. "Cole, you just insulted me. You need to apologize." Her expression was serious and dignified, with a hint of anger. But her eyes were strange, her pupils slightly dilated, as if with some inexplicable excitement. "How did I insult you?" "I don't remember," Cole said, feigning surprise. "You just used a very vulgar word," Sabrina said, her face full of shame when Cole didn't admit it. "That you're trash." Cole chuckled. "Cole, how could you say that?" Sabrina said angrily, but her pupils dilated even more, her emotions clearly turbulent. A strange flush crept over her cheeks. Cole watched her silently for 2 seconds before saying, "You can get into character anytime, anywhere. It's a shame you're not in the acting world. But when you perform in front of me, I can only say you're an amateur trying to impress a master." Sabrina's eyes showed a flicker of confusion, which she quickly hid. She pretended not to understand, her face red as she said, "You still haven't apologized for insulting me." "Apologize for what? Did you apologize to me?" After saying this, Cole leaned in again with a mocking smile, his voice low and deep. "Aren't you just trash? You pathetic piece of trash." The students standing around couldn't hear him, but Sabrina's 2 roommates heard some of it. Sabrina Ning's face flushed red, then went pale. The word was a slap, one anyone would reel from. But somehow, she held it together. Her expression shifted through a storm of emotions before settling on a strange, feverish blush, as if the humiliation was producing some bizarre excitement. But inside, she was perfectly calm. Men, she thought. Pathetic, self-important men. He must think I have Stockholm Syndrome. That's why he's doubling down, using that word to shame me. He thinks he's getting a rise out of me, doesn't he? Sabrina forced a humiliated look onto her face, her eyes shimmering with a strange light. You, can't you stop insulting me like this? She stammered. Cole almost laughed. He leaned in and whispered another 2 words, low and vicious. You're a pathetic, desperate bitch. The words hit her like a physical blow. Her eyes flickered wildly, and she almost lost her composure right then and there. Sabrina Ning had never been subjected to such a vile insult in her life. But to lure him into her trap, she had to endure it. Tears welled in her eyes, her expression a perfect blend of shame, anger, and pity. Cole, please, don't do this. There are so many people. That look, furious, yet tinged with a strange, inexplicable longing, was the kind that could easily inspire someone to inflict even more cruelty. Standing nearby, Bella stared dumbfounded. Was Sabrina actually sick in the head? Who could take being cursed out like that? Her other roommate shared the thought, and they exchanged a glance before continuing to watch the drama unfold. Cole's smile widened. You want me to get worked up, don't you? You think this is a great performance? You think I'll get lost in it, that I won't be able to pull myself away? You think that just when I believe I can punish you however I want, you'll have me right where you want me? On the surface, Sabrina was still the picture of a woman on the verge of weeping from rage. Inside, she was stunned. How does he know? No, he's just guessing, trying to prove how smart he is. A man's fatal flaw is his ego. She carefully adjusted her expression, letting more anger bleed through. Cole, I may like you, and you don't have to accept it, but you can't humiliate me like this. Cole let out a dry, dismissive chuckle. With a playful glint in his eye, he dropped one last word. Moron. He turned and walked back to his car. Sabrina froze, the word moron echoing in her mind. How could he? How dare he? For a girl who considered herself exceptionally intelligent and emotionally savvy, there was no greater wound than being called a moron. Any other insult she could dismiss from her high perch of intellectual superiority as low-class vulgarity. But moron was different. It was a direct assault on her very soul, a dagger to her self-esteem. Especially after she had endured so much humiliation, thinking he was about to fall in her trap, only to be dismissed as a fool. What did that mean? It meant he'd likely seen through her act from the very beginning. A terrible feeling washed over Sabrina, the feeling of being completely transparent. It was as if her soul had been stripped bare and left to burn in the sun. Her entire, all-in performance. He had known, and he'd used it as an excuse to throw some of the most vile words he could think of at her. A horrifying thought struck her. What about everything else she had done? Did Cole know about all of it? Did those 3 girls know? Her face went white. If they all knew, then what did that make her? A clown. At that thought, she desperately called out, needing an answer. Cole, what do you mean by that? Exactly what it sounds like. Cole called back, rolling down his window with a smile. His voice rose, carrying across the pavement. You want to play your little games? I can treat it like a kid's tantrum. But blocking my car today? That's crossing a line. I don't have time to play with you. You're a student here, so try acting like one. Stop wasting your time on this useless crap. If you pull this again, I'll be having a word with your family. With that, he rolled up the window and started the car. In the rearview mirror, he could still see Sabrina standing there, stunned. The girl was a mess of complex but childish schemes. Once she matured, she'd be much harder to deal with. If she didn't get married off or stick to music, she'd be a formidable opponent in the fight for the Ning family fortune. And if she did marry out, she'd just be a formidable opponent in someone else's family. Cole knew with absolute certainty that Sabrina had been acting from the very start. To think she had some kind of Stockholm Syndrome would be falling for her trap. Maybe she was capable of it, but not now. A woman as proud and arrogant as Sabrina was acutely aware of what she was doing. She was just looking for a thrill, a way to feel spiritually superior and build up her own legend. It was like finding a stray cat and doing everything you could to coax it over, only to laugh and kick it away once it trusted you. And even if she did have Stockholm Syndrome, you didn't go near it. You ran as far and as fast as you could. That kind of obsession was a fire that would consume you both. If she didn't love you, she'd play you. If she did love you, she'd drag you into the flames with her. Terrifying, right? Cole made up his mind. If this happened again, he was going straight to the Nings. He'd tell on her, your daughter is harassing me. The Nings were a family that cared about face. They wouldn't let Sabrina off easy. Fighting fire with fire wouldn't work with someone like her. The more you provoked her, the easier it was to fall into her traps. The only way to win was to break her psychologically. He had a feeling this wasn't over. A proud, rich girl like her wouldn't give up so easily. But as long as she wasn't blocking his car with a bouquet of flowers, he didn't mind playing along. The most important rule, of course, was that she was not to harass his 3 girls. At that moment, Sabrina was still standing there, the flowers clutched in her hand, her face a dark storm cloud. Even after the car had vanished from sight, the word moron was still lodged in her brain, undigested. After a long while, she took a deep breath, walked silently to a nearby trash can, and threw the bouquet inside. She paid no mind to the students watching from a distance. The pity and sympathy in the eyes of the male students struck her as particularly laughable. You think you have a right to pity me? For men of their caliber, she couldn't even be bothered to play with them. Without a word to her roommates, she turned and left. She didn't need roommates. The sprawling condo her family had bought for her was already being renovated. Another semester to air out the paint fumes, and she'd be moving out. But this was not over. With the show over, the distant students began to disperse, their conversations buzzing in small groups. The opinions of the men and women were, predictably, worlds apart. A group of guys walked together, their voices full of sympathy. Sabrina got rejected again. It's kind of sad. She was being so nice about it. Someone should slip her a note and tell her Cole's already taken. Man, that Cole is something else. If it were me, I could never say no to her. Sabrina is so pure, just too innocent for this world. Sigh. A few girls nearby had a much clearer take. Does she not go online? Does she not know Cole has girlfriends? Of course she knows. I bet she's just banking on her family's money to try and steal him. What do you think he said to her just now? Probably nothing good, judging by her face. She's not lacking for options. Why is she so obsessed with Cole? If it were you, wouldn't you be? Back at the Headline Today office, Cole immediately relayed the morning's events in the Linden Creek group chat. His 3 girls needed to be on high alert. At 9 a.m., the Shun family arrived. Robert Shun, Serena's uncle, brought his son and daughter, his other nephew, and the general manager of the scenic park, Mr. Liu, along with a few other staff members. Cole led Robert Shun on a tour, explaining the functions of each department. Serena, who had taken a morning off from classes, was left to entertain her cousins, Claire, Spencer, and the new one, Connor. After a few minutes, Connor's eyes lit up, and he broke away from the group. Serena was busy explaining the work of the content moderation department and didn't pay much attention. Yvonne was engrossed in a conversation with her department staff when she sensed someone standing in front of her desk. She looked up to see it was Serena's cousin. Yvonne offered a polite, professional smile. Hello. Hello. I'm Connor Shun. That's my dad over there, Connor said, pointing toward his father. His eyes gleamed as he turned back to Yvonne, a brilliant smile on his face. May I ask what your role here is? I'm the head of the Business Development Center. Can I help you with something? Yvonne asked, her eyes sharp. She gestured vaguely toward the sign on her office door. Vice President, Business Development. Business Development? What does that involve? Could you tell me about it? Connor asked, looking for an excuse to linger. This girl was, after his cousin, the most beautiful one here, and he could tell she was inexperienced, a true rarity. Most importantly, her office was huge, well-decorated, with its own sofa and lounge chair. He knew what that meant. She had to be a core figure in the company. The business center handles client relations and partnerships. I'm sorry, but I'm a bit busy at the moment, Yvonne said with a polite but firm smile. She stood up, walked to her door, and called out, Serena. Serena looked over and immediately understood the situation. She walked straight toward them. Beside her, Claire sighed, and Spencer just shrugged. They knew exactly what their cousin was like. In the office, Connor realized this girl wasn't going to be an easy conquest. Seeing his cousin approaching with a serious expression, he let out a cheerful laugh and waved to Yvonne. Sorry to bother you. It's no problem, Mr. Shun. I'm just very busy and was afraid I'd neglect you. It's more appropriate for Ms. Shun to give you the tour, Yvonne said, maintaining a perfectly composed, neither humble nor arrogant smile. Connor walked out and grinned sheepishly at his cousin. Serena, I was just looking around. Connor, if you want to know about the company, I can show you. They're very busy, Serena said, fully aware of her cousin's reputation. Family ties kept her from scolding him too harshly, but she hated this kind of behavior. There were plenty of smart, attractive upperclassmen working here who were accomplished women in their own right. Cole never once tried anything with them. Right. My mistake, Connor said, not daring to argue with this particular cousin. He meekly followed her away, his mind still racing. This company was completely different from his family's. The women were prettier, had more class, and their eyes weren't filled with that calculating, materialistic gleam. That girl just now, high-ranking and still so innocent. She was perfect, though the idea still lingered in his mind. He knew better than to push his luck right now. Meanwhile, in another part of the office, Mr. Chun, is your company's R&D center not located here? Robert Shin asked, his eyes full of curiosity. That's right. It's at Eastwood University. It's more convenient for server storage there, Cole nodded. You can forget about seeing the R&D center. Even if you asked, I'd turn you down. Of course. A university is certainly a secure place for servers, Robert said, a hint of disappointment in his voice. He knew Cole wouldn't show him the R&D center anyway. He looked around the bustling office, a wave of admiration washing over him. A 19-year-old kid had built this empire in a single year. It was truly extraordinary. If it weren't for his niece, he would be pushing his own daughter, Claire, at him in a heartbeat. A match like this was better than marrying into any other wealthy family. Better, even, than the powerful Chun family in D.C. Political power, unless you used it for shady dealings, was mainly for protecting yourself from dirty tricks. But for real growth, you needed allies in the business world. He spoke decisively. All right, Mr. Chun, let's sign the contract. Excellent. This way, Mr. Chun. We use the conference room. Serena had already prepared the contract. Everything proceeded smoothly. They transferred $10 million for the advertising fee, which included headline today's content creation costs. Cole also explained that in the future, the park and the county tourism board could register their own accounts, handle their own promotions, and just pay for the ad boosts. They could even copy the model headline today was using for this campaign. Even if he didn't say it, others would copy it anyway. He might as well be open about it. If no one copied it, headline today wouldn't make as much on ad revenue. To Cole's surprise, the Shuns didn't even try to negotiate a discount. That was a good sign. He treated them to lunch downstairs, and the Shun family departed afterward. Cole handed off the subsequent filming to Whitney, who immediately contacted Amy and Preston. They would be the leads for the headline today version of the promotional video again. She also recruited a few student actors from the Slice Video short drama team. Her dream cast, of course, was Cole and his 3 vice presidents, but that was pure fantasy. At 5 p.m., Serena had just returned to her law school dorm. Serena Shun. A voice called out from the side of the road. It was Sabrina Ning. Hello, I'm busy. Let's talk next time, Serena said without stopping, brushing her off. Serena, wait. Sabrina chased after her. She had been thinking about it all day, unable to concentrate in class. After turning it over and over in her mind, she had decided to get her revenge on Cole for calling her a moron by going after the 3 girls. She chose Serena first. With her distinguished background, she was the one most likely to leave Cole. And deep down, Sabrina was jealous of her. Serena was beautiful and the daughter of a major city's top official. She never had to compete for anything. Seeing that Serena was ignoring her, she raised her voice. Serena, with your status, you can find someone so much better than Cole. Seeing you like this. Honestly, I looked down on you. It was a time when many law students were heading back to their dorms. The words hung in the air, and heads turned. Those who knew Serena recognized the law school's reigning beauty. A freshman last year, and still a sophomore. Some of the new freshmen didn't know her, but many recognized Sabrina, the rich girl, the winner of the singing competition, a big name on campus. But the name that really caught everyone's attention was Cole Chun. Now, this was interesting. Many had heard the rumors about Sabrina's public confession and rejection at the singing competition. Those who hadn't were quickly filled in by their friends. News didn't used to travel this fast, but now, with Headline Today, you could always stumble upon some campus gossip. Hearing Sabrina's challenge, Serena stopped. She turned around slowly, her face a blank mask. Seeing her words had an effect, Sabrina's heart leaped. The daughter of a top official, competing with 2 other girls for one man? Impossible. Serena had to be resentful. If she could just guide her, plant the seeds of conflict in her mind, she could definitely stir up some trouble. Confident in her plan, Sabrina walked calmly up to Serena. She offered a faint smile and began. Serena, my family does business with your father's office all the time. With your status, competing with those other 2 only lowers you. Does your family know about this? What are you trying to say? You have 1 minute, Serena said, her bright eyes fixed on Sabrina. Don't misunderstand. I did like Cole before, but not anymore, Sabrina said, a slight curve to her lips. But I feel like we hit it off, that we could really get along. I think we could be great friends. 40 seconds, Serena said flatly. Sabrina's face froze for a second before she continued. I just think it's unfair for you to be competing with them. Cole clearly doesn't value you. If he did, he would have publicly announced that you're his girlfriend. But has he? No, he hasn't. Right. You have 20 seconds. Serena's gaze didn't waver. Sigh. Sabrina shook her head with a sigh. It seems you've been completely brainwashed by him. She decided to add more fuel to the fire to really provoke her. As a law student from a family of public servants, aren't you just embarrassing your family? If you like him that much, I can help you. I can make him admit that you're his one and only girlfriend. She finished with a smile, certain she had won. Time's up. I don't think we can be friends, Serena said, completely unmoved. She turned to leave. Hey, Sabrina hadn't expected this. The girl had stopped, which meant she was interested, right? Why was she just leaving after hearing her out? Maybe the words hit home, she thought. Maybe she just needs time for them to fester. She added one more line. Serena, as a law student at a top-tier university, with your background, you deserve a better future. I can help you. My family can help your father. But Serena was already several feet away, showing no signs of turning back. Being timed like that, and now seeing no hope of persuasion, Sabrina felt a surge of panic. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. You're just debasing yourself. You're acting like trash. What would your family think if they knew? The words hit their mark. Serena stopped again. She turned and walked back toward her. A flicker of triumph sparked in Sabrina's heart. She finally turned around. Maybe you just needed a little push, a little permission to take the high road, right? Serena walked quietly until she was standing right in front of Sabrina. She sighed softly, then raised her hand. Crack! A sharp slap landed squarely on Sabrina's cheek, snapping her head to the side. A hot, stinging pain erupted on her skin, but the pain in her heart was worse. After the blow, she just stood there completely stunned. She was hit. The area fell silent. The girls watching from a distance were all frozen in shock. 2 seconds later, Sabrina finally reacted, clutching her face. You what? Do you need my permission to run your mouth about my life? I gave you a minute, and you still didn't know when to quit. You dare speak to me like that? Who the hell do you think you are? Does a Ning family name give you the right to be so arrogant? Serena's expression was perfectly calm, showing no trace of emotion. There was no anger in her eyes, only a deep, ethereal emptiness. It was as if she were looking down on Sabrina from the clouds. Seeing the hatred brewing in Sabrina's eyes, Serena offered a piece of well-intentioned advice. You'd be wise not to go looking for Luna. She has a much shorter fuse than I do. And if you have a problem with this, feel free to have your family come find me. The surrounding students were stunned. The reigning beauty of a law school had just slapped the reigning beauty of the School of Arts. This was major news at Eastwood University. Sabrina stood frozen, one hand pressed to her cheek, not saying a word. She just stared at Serena, her eyes filled with hate. In that instant of profound humiliation, 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. Her first instinct was to hit back, to vent her fury. But looking at Serena's unervingly calm, almost condescending gaze, she hesitated. An emotionless stare was the most terrifying. It plunged you into a void of unknown fear. Most girls from rich or powerful families didn't have that look. They were either arrogant or angry or dismissive. They always showed something. But Serena's eyes were empty. It meant one of two things. Either she wasn't afraid, or she was prepared for the consequences. Or both. She knew Sabrina was from the Ning family, yet she still dared to strike her, and without a flicker of anger. That said something. Coming from a family of merchants, Sabrina's mind instinctively calculated risk versus reward. But she had a safe face. Serena, shun, she snarled. You'd better apologize and beg for my forgiveness right now. Otherwise, even with your father in office, he won't be able to protect you. Whether he can or not, we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Serena said, rubbing her hand. It was the first time she'd ever hit someone, and her palm stung. And I'll remind you one more time, you'd better drop this obsession and just be a student. Otherwise, when this all blows up, it's going to be very ugly for you. Fine. Serena, shun. You just wait. The hatred in Sabrina's eyes was so intense, it was almost tangible. She would have her revenge for this. In front of all these people, her reputation was in tatters. If she didn't get even, how could she ever show her face on campus again? I'll be waiting, Serena said, then turned and walked away. Serena, shun. You'll regret this. Sabrina screamed after her. But Serena was already gone, disappearing into the dormitory building without a single glance back. Sabrina stared at the entrance, breathing heavily, rage churning in her chest. After a long moment, she scanned the area, glaring at the girls watching the drama from their windows and on the ground. What are you looking at? She roared. The onlookers quickly averted their gazes, not wanting to become her next target. But the news of what had just happened was already spreading like wildfire. Seeing that no one was looking at her anymore, Sabrina felt a little better. But the feeling of humiliation only grew stronger. The anger from Cole calling her a moron hadn't even faded, and now she'd been slapped by Serena's shun. It didn't hurt that much physically, but her pride was bleeding. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She even considered calling her bodyguards to come and beat Serena up, but she dismissed the idea immediately. She wouldn't dare do something like that at Eastwood. The consequences would be too severe. Besides, they wouldn't be able to get into the dorms anyway. She strode quickly toward the School of Arts, pulling out her phone and dialing. The moment the call connected, she burst into tears. "Dad, I got hit." "Who hit you? Who would dare?" "Slow down. Tell me what happened." A man's voice, thick with an accent, came through the phone. "A girl hit me. She thinks she can do whatever she wants because her dad is." Sabrina only mentioned being hit, conveniently leaving out the full context. This is outrageous. Hitting someone. So what if her dad's the mayor? Does that give her the right to bully people? The voice on the phone roared. Then it softened. "Sabrina, you go back to your dorm for now. Tell your dean about this. Dad will handle the rest. I'll make sure you get justice for this." "Okay, Dad." Sabrina sobbed for another moment before hanging up. A cold smile spread across her face. "Serena shun. Even if your dad is the top official in the city, you're not getting away with this. Just you wait until you have to come begging for my forgiveness." She knew, of course, that there were different kinds of powerful officials. There were the ones from major municipalities with strong backgrounds and real influence. They were a different story. But there were also plenty from smaller cities with weaker backing, and many of them wouldn't dare offend major investors. In fact, they'd practically beg for the business. In the law school dorm, Serena immediately sent Cole a message explaining what had happened. Cole happened to be free, and when he saw the message, he was furious. "So Sabrina Ning really wants to tear everything down, huh? She just had to be a problem. A freshman who had just arrived at Eastwood. How could she stir up so much trouble? What did any of this have to do with her? Did she really think the Ning family could run wild everywhere? Did she really think she was some kind of princess?" Cole replied, "Don't worry, baby, I'll handle it. I'm having Officer Riley and her team wait downstairs for you. Have them follow you when you go out." He immediately called Officer Riley and told her to take 2 of the male bodyguards to the law school dorms. The 3 of them were to ensure Serena's safety, just in case Sabrina tried something reckless. Cole knew Serena wasn't afraid, but that was beside the point. She was his, so it was his job to handle this. He then had Sasha Gua take another bodyguard to protect Luna, and the remaining new female bodyguard was sent to Eastwood Tech to watch over Jasmine. Serena replied in seconds. "Okay, I'm not scared of her. She wouldn't dare try anything on campus." Cole went online and searched for the phone number of the Ning family's parent company. He knew he'd never get the chairman's direct line, or even his secretary's. He dialed the main front desk number. "Hello, you've reached Viridian Global." A pleasant female voice answered. "Hello, this is Cole Chun from Headline Today. I need to speak with your chairman Ning. Please pass on a message that I need to talk to him about Sabrina Ning." Cole mentioned Sabrina by name, knowing it was the only way the message would get through. This was a massive corporation. The receptionist wouldn't just pass on any message, nor did she have the authority to contact the chairman directly. Mentioning his daughter would make them take it seriously. It would likely get passed up the chain of command. Okay. The voice on the other end hesitated. After hanging up, all Cole could do was wait. The call came back faster than he expected. It was a number from Florida. "Hello, this is Cole Chun." "Hello, I'm Chairman Ning's secretary," a young woman's voice replied. It sounded mature, but probably not older than 35. She continued coolly, "I was wondering what it is young Mr. Chun wishes to discuss regarding Miss Ning." The phrase young Mr. Chun dripped with the arrogance of an established, old money corporation. She didn't even introduce herself. Cole didn't care. He said, "I'm taking responsibility for what happened with Sabrina Ning. If there's an issue, you come to me. But I suggest you first ask Miss Ning what exactly she did. The chairman is already aware of what happened to Miss Ning and will naturally handle it. As for you taking responsibility, I'm afraid you can't handle it," the secretary chuckled. "I'd advise you to have the aggressor apologize and make amends until Miss Ning is satisfied. You're just a secretary. Do your job and pass on the message. Whether I can handle it or not is none of your damn business." Cole leaned back in his chair and pinched the bridge of his nose. He let out a soft laugh. "Let me ask you something. Do you have bodyguards following you around every day? You're just a secretary. Remember that. Don't get cute with me. Worst case for the Nings is they just hire a new secretary. Do you know what I mean? If you don't, I can teach you." The other end of the line went silent. After a long pause, the voice returned. Young mister. Chin, I'll pass on your message. Cole suddenly roared into the phone. Young my ass. It's Mr. Chun. Didn't your chairman teach you how to be a proper secretary? You think sucking up to the boss makes you the next Mrs. Ning. Before she could react, he instantly switched back to a calm tone. Relay my words exactly. If I find out you've added or changed a single thing, I'll teach you a lesson. Maybe your chairman is already looking to trade you in for a younger model anyway. The line went silent. Cole didn't bother waiting and hung up. Once this started, he never expected it to end peacefully. Whatever they threw at him, he'd catch. Money was meant to be spent. With so much coming in every day, it was no fun not to spend it. He called Sasha Gua to make the necessary arrangements. The Nings had a real estate company in Rockford. There were some things he couldn't do himself. In Florida, at the headquarters of the Ning family's parent company, the chairman's secretary, whose name was Wendy, wore an expression of indignant fury. She had assumed he was calling to apologize and smooth things over. She never expected such a violent outburst, and to say those things about her, even if they were true. Her chest heaved. Her first instinct was to go in there and blow the whole thing out of proportion to get her revenge. But his words echoed in her mind. You're just a secretary. I'll teach you a lesson. Maybe your chairman is already looking to trade you in for a younger model. Both were things she feared. She was smart enough to become the chairman's secretary. Her EQ wasn't low. But over time, her mindset had shifted. She saw him as just a kid, and Headline Today as just a new internet startup. She had subconsciously put on airs. She took a deep breath and looked at her monitor. It was displaying information about Cole Chun of Headline Today, along with a handsome photo. Only then did the reality sink in. No matter what, this kid was the boss of a major internet company. Young, impulsive, unrestrained, and full of personality. He really might do something crazy. For a cash cow company like his, the money it would take to deal with a secretary like her was pocket change. Why should she stick her neck out? She didn't know much about Headline Today. She had only just started looking it up when she made the call. The more she read, the more shocked she became. The Ning Group had taken 2 generations to build. This kid had done it in a year. His assets might not rival theirs yet, but at this rate, it was only a matter of time. She wasn't afraid of him getting rough with her. Looking at that handsome face, she had some strange thoughts of her own. Bring on. Who's afraid? He's so handsome, I wouldn't even close my eyes. What she was afraid of was him hiring someone else to do it. Wendy composed herself, stood up, and walked into the chairman's office. Warren Ning, the current chairman of the Ning Group, was 50 years old. He was born a rich kid, a former playboy. He had already sent people to investigate Cole's background and was now quietly working while he waited. Getting information took time. Even as the chairman of a Fortune 500 company, he couldn't get a complete dossier on someone in 3 minutes. Just knowing he was connected to the mayor's daughter wasn't enough. He needed to understand the complex relationships involved. As the chairman of a massive corporation, no matter how angry he was, he had to do his due diligence. If the kid's backing ended there, then he was sorry, but that slap would be returned twofold. But if there was more to it, he had to be careful. He knew his own daughter. She must have done something to provoke the conflict. Chairman Mr. Chin from Headline Today just called. He said he's taking responsibility for what happened with Miss Ning. He mentioned there might be more to the story, but he didn't say what. I know, Warren Ning said without looking up. Wendy said no more and left the office. Back at her desk, she thought for a moment, then opened Headline Today's website and registered an account. In the chairman's office, the phone rang. Speak. We've got it. The girl is a vice president of legal affairs at Headline Today. Her father, David Shun, is the party secretary of Rockford. The Shun family has some economic clout in the state. Her mother, Helen, is the superintendent of a small county school district, but what? Spit it out. Yes, Chairman. Helen's father is, her eldest brother is, and her second brother is. The voice on the phone quickly rattled off 3 names. Are you sure? Warren Ning's expression finally changed. The name of her eldest brother alone was enough to be terrifying. No wonder they couldn't find anything at first. Using the police system to investigate the highest levels of law enforcement was just asking for trouble. Positive. It came from the governor's office. They even asked me what was going on and told me to keep my mouth shut. I see. Thank you for your hard work. Go to finance and get some expense money. Keep this to yourself. Thank you, Chairman. Warren Ning leaned back his chair, his gaze lowered, lost in thought. His daughter had been slapped. Was he angry? Of course. But he was going to have to swallow this one. If it were just the Shun family, the Nings were no pushovers. They could crush the Shuns with ease. The mayor would have to apologize for his daughter's actions. But not now. What he couldn't understand was, with a background that powerful, Why was she the superintendent of a small-town school district? Warren Ning closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and swallowed it. He had to pretend he didn't know about the D.C. family connection. Otherwise, ordering an investigation into a private citizen, let alone a high-ranking official's family. That was illegal. If it got out, he had no doubt that the same law enforcement agencies that were friendly to the Nings would be kicking down his door to drag him away. And all the minor disputes his businesses had across the country would be dug up and become the straws that broke the camel's back. Offending a top-tier D.C. family versus offending the Nings. Everyone knew which side to choose. Even his allies in the state government would turn a blind eye or even help take him down. Because if he fell, the corporation would still be there. His fall would be a boon for his two brothers, who would gladly step in. The company would be thrown into turmoil, the stock would plummet. Smaller shareholders and other investors would pounce, trying to grab a piece of the pie. That was reality. When you had money, you could throw your weight around with ordinary people. But in certain situations, you had to play by the rules. For a family corporation, profit came first. If someone threatened their profits, they would fight to the death. But to risk it all over a slap for his child, a fight he couldn't win, that was out of the question. Warren Ning rubbed his temples and, after a long moment, let out a deep sigh. He needed to get his daughter's personality in check. He immediately called her, but she didn't answer. He called her driver and head of security, but he didn't answer either. A sense of unease began to creep in. Suddenly, Warren Ning thought of Headline Today, the internet company he had dismissed. No wonder it had grown so big so quickly without any trouble. It was all because of this connection. His mind filled in the blanks. It was hard not to connect the dots. At that moment, downstairs from the Eastwood University accounting department dorms, Luna. Sabrina blocked Luna's path as she came back from class. A short distance behind her stood two young men. One look, and you could tell they were bodyguards who had driven onto campus. Luna glanced at them and brushed her off. Sorry, I'm busy. Next time. She started to walk away quickly, not wanting to linger for a second. Luna, wait. Sabrina chased after her and blocked her again. After returning to her dorm, the more Sabrina thought about it, the angrier she got, with no outlet for her humiliation. She told me not to go near Luna, did she? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. In the end, she couldn't resist and came to find her. Luna looked soft and easy to bully. If she didn't listen, Sabrina could just coax her away, scare her a little, then offer some candy. A little psychological manipulation would surely work. Kids from poor families like her were mostly clueless about the world. As for the other students who might see, they were just kids, who cares? Convinced she had found a winning strategy, she ignored the incessant ringing of her phone and started her speech. Luna, with your background, you can't compete with the other two. Have you ever thought about how this will end for you? You're just from some poor mountain town. The other two come from families 100 times better off than yours. What do you have to compete with them? I just feel like we could really connect, and I'd hate to see you get abandoned in the end. Blocked in her path, Luna's face showed her displeasure. Sabrina, thinking she had hit a nerve, was secretly thrilled. She softened her tone. Luna, you know deep down that when Cole finally has to choose, he won't pick you. You're not going to be happy just being his mistress, are you? Luna stared silently at the dorm entrance, not saying a word. Seeing this, Sabrina became even more convinced she had gotten through to her. It was human nature. Anyone would naturally gravitate toward what was in their own best interest. Sabrina pressed her advantage. Luna, I can help you, and I won't compete with you. If we ignore family background, I think you're better than them. With my help, getting rid of those two won't be that hard. I just want to be your real friend. Are you done? The light in Luna's eyes seemed to condense into a single, sharp point. Luna, don't you want to be the mistress of Headline Today? Are you really willing to just? Before Sabrina could finish, she felt a sharp tug on her scalp. Luna had grabbed one of her braids. If you say one more word to me, believe me, I will rip your face off. Luna's voice was laced with ice. Her usual gentle, watery demeanor had vanished as if it had never existed. The coldness in her eyes made Sabrina think she had mistaken her for someone else. What are you doing? Let go. Sabrina was both furious and mortified. She had never, in her entire life, had her hair pulled. Seeing other students passing by, she felt her face burning with shame again. Let go. Not only did Luna not let go, she yanked her backward. The pain on her scalp forced Sabrina to stumble forward 2 steps. Her 2 bodyguards rushed forward, trying to rescue their young mistress. But 2 powerful figures shot out from the side, tackling them to the ground. On the balconies of the dorm above, girls quickly gathered. Other students passing by, both girls and boys there to meet their girlfriends, also stopped to watch the showdown between the beauties of the accounting and art departments. A completely one-sided beatdown. I gave you a chance before. I'm tired of pretending, and you still came looking for trouble. Luna gripped both of Sabrina's braids, forcing her into a bent, squatting position. Against Luna's strength, Sabrina was like a little rabbit, completely powerless. Luna's normally soft eyes turned fierce. What are you doing with bodyguards blocking my way? Are you trying to kidnap me? Do you think we don't know what you've been up to? Let me ask you, why are you doing this? Do we even know you? You just show up and stick your nose in our business. How we live our lives is our own business. What the hell does it have to do with you? You think just because I'm from a poor town, I'll be moved by your act? You think you're so smart, so high and mighty, that you can just mess with people's lives? If you're so bored, go sing your songs, be your little campus celebrity. But no, you had to come and bother us. You think your family's money makes you special? You run around screaming about how much you like him, making sure the whole world knows. Do you really like him? You thought I'd be easy to bully, didn't you? The surrounding students stared, their mouths agape. The beauty of the accounting department, the CFO of Headline Today, was known to be gentle and kind. She was low-key and never lost her temper. Today, they learned that it wasn't that she didn't have a temper. It was that no one had ever pushed her far enough to see it. On the ground nearby, the two burly bodyguards were pinned down. Sasha Gua and another female bodyguard each held one down. Though they were all military-trained bodyguards, the veterans from the Special Forces proved superior. They were all serving their employers. There were no comrades here. They pressed down hard, not holding back. They had to earn the high salary and reimbursed rent Cole was paying them. It looked like the VP of Finance didn't need their help with her fight. As for the consequences, who cared? If they had to go to the police station, they'd go. It was their personal action, unrelated to their employer. No doubt the other side's bodyguards would say the same. At this moment, Sabrina was about to lose her mind. First slapped by Serena, now pinned and unable to move by Luna. She struggled, but it was useless. Luna would just pull her forward again. If she struggled more, she'd end up on the ground, which would be even more humiliating. All Sabrina could do was squat there, clutching at her braids. Luna, let go. What are you doing? Luna tightened her grip. I should be asking you what you're doing. What's the meaning of this? Having your goons block my path. Trying to kidnap me, are you? I didn't. I don't know them. I just wanted to talk to you. Sabrina denied it flatly. The only one who thinks others are stupid is the stupid one. You get that? Luna shook her head. He already made it clear he's not interested, and you still keep pestering us. We all know what you're after. We were just trying to give you some face, since you're a new freshman. But what do? You double down. You just have to satisfy your sick little power trips. You thought if you showed up with flowers, he'd agree to be with you, and then you could play with his feelings? You just had to get your kicks by trying to drive a wedge between people, didn't you? Does causing trouble make you feel excited? Well, let me ask you, are you excited now? Are you? Luna gave a sharp tug on her braids, making Sabrina stumble. She couldn't protect her hair anymore, planting a hand on the ground to keep from falling. She glanced at her pinned bodyguards, then at their opponents, and then out of the corner of her eye at the crowd of onlookers. Her pride was shattering. When had Sabrina Ning ever been this humiliated? Just then, Luna yanked her again. Under the irresistible force, with so many eyes watching, Sabrina broke. Not only had Luna seen right through her, but she wasn't playing by the rules. She was just being simple and brutal, leaving her no way out. First being cursed out by Cole, then slapped by Serena. And now, this. Her self-esteem finally gave way. With a loud wail, she burst into tears. Now you think to cry? What were you doing before? You force your way into other people's lives, and now you think you're the victim? Luna didn't loosen her grip in the slightest. What are you crying for? I'm already going easy on you. Otherwise, I'd be grinding your face in the dirt. Let go. I'm telling my dad. Sabrina wailed, her former pride and arrogance retreating deep into her soul. Go tell your dad. I want to ask him what the hell is wrong with his daughter. Luna gave another sharp tug. Sabrina nearly fell flat on her face, her cries growing louder. Just then, the student government finally arrived. The dorm mother, seeing the situation was beyond her control, had immediately notified the university administration. This kind of thing was usually handled by the student government first. Ms. and please let her go for now. The person who arrived was a junior, a law student. She was the newly appointed vice president of the student government and also the current director of the copyright department at Headline Today. She was one of the first employees to be interviewed for the copyright team. Even vice presidents have to eat, right? Who would turn down thousands of dollars a month? All she had to do was lead her team to handle copyright claims and verification. No need to be in the office every day, though there was occasional overtime. It was the perfect internship for a student leader like her. Seeing it was an acquaintance, Luna let go and stepped back. The girls on the balconies and on the ground looked on in amazement, their image of the gentle girl completely shattered. Who knew she was actually a violent beauty? Sabrina, not bothering to fix her slightly disheveled braids, fumbled in the pocket of her thin windbreaker for her phone to call her dad. She saw that he was already calling her. She answered and screamed, "Dad, I got hit again. They pinned me to the ground." There was a moment of silence on the other end before he spoke. "Yep. Where did you get hit? Why? Were you hit or pinned? Or pinned and hit? Be clear." "Dad, I'm the one who got hit, and you're asking me questions." "They just pinned me down, so I couldn't move. My body." "They're down too." Sabrina glanced at her two bodyguards, who had just been released and were standing up, their faces full of shame. What was it about? Was it because of Cole Shun from Headline Today again? Was it that Shun family girl? Her father asked again. "Dad, no, it wasn't." Sabrina couldn't bring herself to say it. How could she explain the real situation? She'd just get yelled at. The other end went silent again. After a few seconds, his voice came back, heavy and subdued. "Go back to your dorm for now. I'll arrange for you to transfer to another school." She could hear the suppressed rage in his voice. "What? Dad, why?" Sabrina was stunned, her tears forgotten. "It's for your own good. Transfer schools." "Dad, I'm not transferring. I'm going to stay and study here." Sabrina couldn't back down now. If she ran away, she'd be a coward for the rest of her life. Then stay in the School of Arts and don't come out. Wait for this to blow over. Focus on your classes. "Dad, either that, or you transfer immediately." "Dad." Sabrina's mind was reeling with confusion. When had her father ever been so cowardly? But what was she supposed to do about her reputation now? Since there was no physical assault, the university didn't take formal action. However, both parties had brought bodyguards onto campus, and a conflict had occurred which disrupted the campus atmosphere. As a result, both were summoned to the administrative office and reprimanded. Bringing bodyguards onto campus was now forbidden. Sabrina remained wooden throughout the entire meeting. With her intelligence, once she calmed down, she naturally understood why her father had reacted the way he did. There was no other explanation except that they had run into a power they couldn't touch. She didn't blame him for his decision. If she were in his shoes, she would have made the same choice. But the anger and humiliation still burned inside her. She wasn't willing to let it go. For now, however, she was out of options. It was as if her personality had split, with reason and emotion wrestling in her mind. After leaving the administrative office, she was called in for a talk with the dean of the School of Arts. Luna, on the other hand, returned to her dorm and recounted the events in the Linden Creek group chat. At the Headline Today office, Cole was on the phone with the chairman of the Ning group. "Mr. Chun, my daughter has caused you a great deal of trouble this time. I am truly sorry. Whenever you find yourself in Florida, I insist on buying you a drink to apologize in person," Warren Ning said, his tone sincere. He sounded like a father who, though strict with his children, was also exceptionally gracious. "You're too kind, Mr. Ning. It was just a small misunderstanding. Now that it's cleared up, there's no need for an elder to apologize," Cole replied with a smile. He didn't believe a word of it, but that didn't stop them from exchanging pleasantries. This old fox, able to bend and bow like this, was not to be underestimated. A true predator. If he ever got the chance in the future, Cole had no doubt he would use every means at his disposal to reclaim the face he'd lost today. But Cole had no intention of giving him that chance. "Mr. Chun, you are a young man of remarkable talent and grace. The rise of Headline Today is no accident. We old-timers can't compare," Warren Ning said, laying on the praise. "You flatter me, Mr. Ning. I'm just a small fish in a big pond who got lucky. The Ning Group is a Fortune 500 company. I'm in no position to compare," Cole volleyed back, playing the part perfectly. Whether they would clash again in the future was a matter for another day. After a few more mutual compliments, they hung up. The Sabrina Ning affair was settled, at least for now. Cole looked at the messages in the group chat, but he didn't let his guard down. His two girls had roughed up the man's daughter. It would be unnatural if he didn't want revenge. However, if they gave him a little more time, he'd be ready for whatever they threw at him. In preparation for today, he had even gathered some local street toughs. After giving Vanessa Fan a heads up, he had them wait in the lobby of the gallery, just in case the Nings sent their security team from the local branch office to cause trouble. He was even prepared to launch a full-scale media assault. He never expected them to back down so willingly. After thinking it over, Cole could guess the reason. They must be wary of Serena's family connections in D.C. Cole replied to the group chat, "Good job. That's how you handle it." A moment later, Luna replied, Brother, I don't usually lose my temper. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Serena followed up, me neither. Winking face with thumb. If she hadn't been so out of line, I wouldn't have hit her. My hand hurts. Jasmine added. She's lucky she didn't come looking for me. She would have gotten a lot worse. Cole smiled as he read their messages. All three of his girls knew how to handle themselves. When it was time to be tough, they didn't hesitate. It was perfect, exactly what he loved about them. In a group chat, the three girls quickly forgot about Sabrina and moved on to the topic of clothes. The weather was getting cooler, which meant it was shopping season. Cole couldn't get a word in, so he dutifully went back to work. He sent a $1,000 bonus to Sasha Gua and the other female bodyguard for their decisive action. He then dismissed the street toughs waiting downstairs, paying them in full. People like that were very useful when used correctly. A week later, the ad for Stone Buffalo Ridge was released. The emotional resonance was perfectly crafted. The scenery was just a backdrop. What truly influenced people were emotions. The video was well received upon its release, but that wasn't enough. Cole had influencers continue to hype it up to create a trend. According to the Shun family, the public safety cleanup in Pingjiang County was in full swing. Cole had his planning department create accounts to praise the local government's efforts online, further boosting the county's public image. By early November, Slice Video's first short drama was completed. The original title, Cat Loves Dog, was changed to Nemesis Love. Before its official release, Headline Today, at Cole's direction, launched a massive marketing campaign. Amy, one of the lead actresses, frequently posted updates on her own account, attracting a lot of attention from Headline Today users. Many fans of the original web novel declared they would be tuning in. After a week of promotion, the show was released directly on Slice Video. Before May 2012, short-form dramas didn't need to be registered for broadcasting. Each episode was 15 to 20 minutes long, like a long short video, a completely different format from traditional TV series. It was an instant hit. Slice Video's VIP subscriptions skyrocketed. The cliché billionaire CEO line, "I want all her information within 3 minutes," had audiences from this era swooning. The show also attracted a lot of criticism. A scene where the hero jumps into the water to save a dog drove many people crazy. The multi-angled love triangles had viewers gnashing their teeth, watching and hating it at the same time, then flocking to Headline Today to complain. Numerous short videos imitating the billionaire and his heiress also appeared. The show's popularity soared. It even hit #1 on Twitter's trending list, dethroning a popular historical drama and going head-to-head with another major palace intrigue series. The two shows had different styles. One was a genuine, high-stakes political drama. Nemesis Love was a showy, multifaceted romance. The student actors from the School of Arts became famous overnight, especially Amy. Her online popularity rivaled that of several A-list TV stars. With the good came the bad. Many prominent online personalities on Twitter began to criticize Nemesis Love. Julian Vance, a famous film critic, tweeted, "A certain drama has recently become a hit." You all know which one I'm talking about. The fact that such a crudely made short drama can be so popular. Have I lost touch with modern audiences? Is this fair to the meticulously crafted, high-quality dramas out there? It has no substance, a shallow plot you can see through in an instant. Is this the degradation of humanity or the tragedy of art? Similar tweets were plentiful. Many artists and film industry professionals scoffed, comparing Nemesis Love to a muddy sweet potato that had no place on a fine dining table. Cole just chuckled when he saw it. He gathered his army of influencers and launched a counteroffensive. You have your highbrow art. I have my billionaire CEO. You can have your epic love stories. I'll watch my loyal butler. Your intern lives in a luxury apartment. My CEO lives in a mansion. Besides the catchy titles, they used all sorts of rhetoric, engaging in a delightful war of words from both positive and negative angles. Since the show contained no sex or politics and didn't need to be broadcast on TV, no one could censor or stop it. Cole knew he would be hated by some people for this, but he didn't care. Let them hate. When you have enough fleas, you stop feeling the bites. Besides, he was certain that other video platforms would soon be imitating them. It was inevitable. The revenue was just too astounding. The income from the short drama included VIP subscriptions, product placement, and brand sponsorships. The actors' clothes, jewelry, furniture, appliances, any visible object could be a product placement. Nemesis Love wasn't a serious drama. It was an exaggerated billionaire-era spectacle. It was meant to be both infuriating and hilarious. Viewers who were already in on the joke were more accepting of the fleeting glimpse of a certain brand of home appliance. All the work had been done up front. During filming, The Business Development Center had already sent out advertising invitations to Headline Today's loyal brand partners. This was just the first test run. The second drama could be released while still filming, accepting new advertisements along the way. There was a knock on his office door. Serena, his vice president Shun, walked in. The door closed softly. Serena was wearing a light gray knit sweater paired with a dark, waist-cinching cashmere skirt. Though the skirt covered her calves, it couldn't hide her slender, vibrant figure. The exposed part of her delicate calves was wrapped in black leggings. Seeing Cole, her eyes sparkled like stars. She walked up to him, leaned forward slightly to hand him a folder, and said in a sweet, cooing voice, "Mr. Chun, the revised copyright contracts for Slice Video are ready for your review." Her tender little face, her plump, rosy lips, it all made Cole suddenly thirsty. As he took the folder, he gave it a gentle tug, and she followed its momentum, landing right in his lap. A faint, milky fragrance filled his embrace. Serena pouted her lips, protesting playfully, "Mr. Chun, you can't bully your little legal counsel in the office. I'm just discussing the company's legal framework with her, getting her suggestions." Cole denied, shamelessly, his hand already slipping inside her sweater. Mr. Chun, what are you doing to your little legal counsel?" Serena's red lips parted slightly as she looked at him with feigned surprise, though her eyes were full of encouragement. "I'm inspecting her legal work," Cole mumbled, his words indistinct as if his mouth were full. "And then, Cole, you can't. Baby's at work." Serena tilted her head back, gently pushing at his head. When he didn't move, she gave up. "My poor legal baby. Getting inspected just for reporting her work?" she said pitifully. The only answer she received was the sound of smacking lips. After a while, Cole said mischievously, "Legal baby, want to play hide and seek?" "Hide and seek?" Serena's eyes were watery, her face flushed as if she were drunk. She looked a little dizzy. "Baby hides under this desk, and I'll come find you," Cole said, gesturing to the space under the desk. His expression was serious, but his eyes were anything but. "Why do I have to hide under there?" Serena looked at the space under the desk, feigning ignorance. Then she pressed her forehead against his, whispering, "Cole, your eyes are so naughty. Like you want to eat me up. Don't worry. Your Cole is a good person. He won't eat you. In fact, he's willing to be eaten by you," Cole promised in a soft, gentle voice. "Come on, let's play hide and seek." "Okay," Serena said, slipping off his lap and disappearing under the desk. Seeing her cooperate so perfectly, Cole felt a surge of satisfaction, but it also brought other thoughts to mind. After the recent incident, the story of him and his 3 girls was likely to spread online. But he wasn't afraid. His age was his shield. That was the advantage of being young. He was unmarried. They were unmarried. For people being friends, what's wrong with that? No one could touch him, unless they could get a photo of all 4 of them kissing, which was impossible. Even Serena's family and D.C. could only watch from the sidelines. Would they know he was involved with several girls? Cole was sure that if they wanted to know, they could find out. But they didn't need to know. Given their status and intelligence, they understood that knowing was useless without hard evidence. And from their perspective, they only needed to manage Serena. Other trivial matters weren't worth their energy. If Serena's parents found out, they would also need proof. Without it, they had no ground to stand on. That was why Cole had restrained himself from going all the way with Serena, no matter how much he wanted to. He was waiting until he was stronger. He was only a sophomore, 19 and a half. He still had time. Just as Cole was about to push his luck further, there was a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. He was about to tell Serena to come out first, but before he could, the door was pushed open with a cheerful, "Mr. Chun, I'm coming in." It was Yvonne, holding a stack of reports. It was too late to come out now. Serena had no choice but to stay put. It had really turned into a game of hide and seek. "Wait, what do you mean really turned into?" "It always was." "Yvonne, perfect timing. I thought you were still at Slice collecting data," Cole said, sighing internally. "Right? Better late than never." "Good thing you're free," Yvonne said, handing him the reports. "This is the registration data for Headline Today and Slice for the last period and the app download numbers." Surprised, she perched herself on the edge of his desk. Cole waved a hand as if to swat her away, but Yvonne, the vice president, was unfazed. She even provocatively hiked up her blazer a little. Her posture clearly said, "Go on, I dare you. I'll bounce it right back at you." Seeing her brazen, take-what-you-want attitude, Cole sullenly retracted his hand and picked up the reports. The numbers had exploded. The growth was incredible. The total user base for Headline Today had reached over 100 million. Was that a lot? Yes and no. It couldn't compare to Twitter, which had hit 300 million users this year, sending its stock price soaring. Cole suppressed his pride. Headline today still had a long way to go and needed to focus on quality content. Suddenly, a jolt went through him. His face contorted into an expression of both pleasure and strained endurance. The ever-observant Yvonne noticed immediately. Mr. Chin, if you have to pee, just go. The reports can wait, she said considerately. Mind your own business, Cole said without looking up, taking a deep breath. I'm just worried you'll damage your bladder, Yvonne pouted. My bladder? My responsibility, Cole said, raising an eyebrow and shivering slightly. Look at you, you're practically bursting. You should really go, Yvonne said with concern, though her real thought was, I'm worried about your prostate. It's fine. I'm used to holding it, Cole said casually. Looking at the reports, he was certain that the music-based short video app could be launched early next year. The user base was large enough to support it. Even if half the users were too cheap to spend data, it would still hold up. Plus, they could keep a web version for PC users. Under the desk, Serena continued her mischief. Looking up at Cole's straight-faced act, she found it incredibly amusing. Just then, she heard Yvonne ask, Where's Serena? I saw her bag on the table. She had gotten off the desk. She was afraid someone else might walk in. She knew Lynn Fan never knocked. No idea. Maybe she went to the restroom. Cole's expression was as steady as a rock. Really? Yvonne was skeptical. She had just come from the restroom, and it was empty. Her eyes fell on the sliced video copyright contract. Then she studied Cole's face again. Thinking about his reaction just now, a thought struck her. No way. Are they that bold? Yvonne glanced at the space hidden by the desk, and suddenly noticed that Cole's t-shirt seemed to move slightly. Ironclad proof. She had to be under the desk. You bastard, Cole. In broad daylight. Yvonne cursed him in her mind. For some reason, she couldn't help but swallow. The more she knew, the more agitated she felt. The two of them, each with their own thoughts, continued to discuss user data. Just as Yvonne was about to lean in closer to confirm her suspicions, an elegant, intellectual figure walked in. Jasmine had arrived. Jasmine, Yvonne greeted her, thinking, Cole, you're in for it now. If Jasmine found out, with her by-the-book personality, she would definitely be angry. You're on your own, Cole. Mr. Chun, the organizational chart for the new hires is ready. Please take a look, Jasmine said, acknowledging Yvonne before addressing Cole in her usual professional tone. Of course, Jasmine. I'll look at it right away. Cole nodded, his expression unchanged. He wasn't panicked at all. Jasmine would never come behind his desk unless he pulled her there. Look at Jasmine's first. Mine isn't urgent. The new departments and personnel should be settled first, Yvonne said chivalrously, trying to get Jasmine to leave. It's fine. I've already made all the arrangements on my end. I just need Mr. Chen to look it over and sign, Jasmine said, sitting down on the sofa. She clearly wasn't in a hurry. Yvonne sighed internally. Sorry, Cole. You're on your own. At that moment, Serena stopped her mischief, her big eyes blinking nervously. She was terrified a head would suddenly pop down and look at her. That would be so awkward. After a moment, it seemed she was in the clear. She stuck out her little tongue and smiled. But a small sound escaped her lips, and she immediately froze in fright. The sofa was 10 feet away, but Jasmine had sharp ears. She felt something was strange. The sound was also somewhat familiar. She glanced around the office curiously, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. She went back to looking at the department group chat on her phone. Yvonne, the clear-eyed observer, was breaking out in a cold sweat. But she saw that Cole was still completely unfazed. She was amazed. He really is the man I admire. Calm and composed, even when facing a crisis. A true man. The thrill of being in such a risky, exciting situation made her shift her stance. She crossed her legs and leaned one hand on the desk. It made her feel more secure. Finally, Cole finished reviewing the user and ad revenue data and exchanged a few points with Yvonne. Just as Yvonne was about to leave, Jasmine spoke up. Yvonne, you stay for a bit too. Let's discuss the personnel structure. I think the Business Development Center needs to be broken down into 2 smaller departments. Oh, okay. I was just thinking the same thing, Yvonne readily agreed. She sighed again internally. Will Serena suffocate under there? Probably not. She's probably having a great time. Sigh, I'm so jealous. I want to play too. The three of them began to discuss the new organizational structure. As the scope of the business expanded, the company's departments had to be further specialized. Clearly defined roles and responsibilities were necessary to ensure the work was done properly and to avoid confusion and mistakes. We also need more office space. I'm thinking of buying a building or building our own campus, Cole said, his face calm, even as the cells in his body were cheering wildly. The legal baby had upgraded her mischief, and it was even more stealthy now. It made him want to devour her. No, I have to hold on a little longer. I'll go get Luna. We can see how much capital we can actually use, Jasmine said, always one for decisive action. She stood up to go get her. Watching her walk briskly out of the office, Yvonne looked at Cole with a strange expression. Her eyes practically screamed, "You decadent tyrant." "What? Is there something on my face?" Cole asked, touching his cheek completely unruffled. "No." Yvonne shook her head. "The flowers are in your heart." Even though she was thinking he was a playboy, she didn't feel any disgust. A man this outstanding, even if he didn't actively chase women, would be chased by them. It was inevitable. It was just a shame he hadn't chased her, Yvonne. But that only made her admire and desire him more. With his looks and status, he could have as many women as he wanted. As long as his kidneys held out, the line of girls waiting for him could stretch to the next date. But he didn't. He stuck with his 3 vice presidents. It was truly admirable. Just then, Jasmine and Luna both walked in and sat down on the sofa. "Mr. Chun, we currently have close to $200 million in available capital, not including our operational reserves and the ad revenue from Slice," Luna said, her tone formal with others present. "That much already?" Cole was a little surprised. He never paid attention to how much money was coming in. If Luna didn't tell him, he didn't ask. His philosophy was to just keep running forward. Life would figure itself out. Of course, this income was nothing compared to publicly traded internet companies, but he didn't need to feel inferior. It was already very good, Cole reminded himself. Once the music-based short video app launched, that's when the real money would start pouring in. "Yes, in the last 2 months, we've had a lot of new advertisers come on board," Luna nodded, beaming. Jasmine and Yvonne both looked surprised. They didn't ask about the finances either. They just knew that money was constantly coming in. The company had only been around for such a short time. My God, 3 pairs of eyes, all burning with heat, turned to Cole. "No, for pairs." Serena was overjoyed, not for the money, but because her Cole was so amazing. She became even more meticulous in her work, but it was also becoming more unbearable. An indescribable discomfort that made her desperately need her Cole to hold her. This is all thanks to everyone. We have our current performance because of all of our collective efforts." Cole laughed, attributing the success to the team. He then added, "We'll have a company party this year. Each department should select its outstanding employees in advance. We'll reward them well. And the outstanding managers, they all get rewards too." "Mr. Chun, maybe we should ask Miss Fan if we can rent the entire floor below or above us. We can cover the compensation costs for the other tenants," Yvonne suggested. "Building a new building right now is too big of an investment, and we don't need it in the short term." "What do Jasmine and Luna think?" Cole looked at his other 2 girls. "I think that's a good idea. We should ask first." "If it's possible, that would be great," Jasmine nodded. "Yes, that would be much faster," Luna agreed. "Okay, I'll go ask her in a bit," Cole said, also agreeing with the plan. It all depended on whether Vanessa could make the space available or help them find solution. The Slice video team was also growing and needed a whole floor. The short drama team also needed its own independent office space. "Why don't you go ask now, Mr. Chun? The sooner we decide, the better," Jasmine urged. "I'll go in a bit. Ms. Fan is usually free around 5 or 6, Cole said, making an excuse. He couldn't possibly get up now. If he wasn't sitting here, Serena might be exposed. Then Jasmine would definitely be furious. Jasmine, Luna, and Yvonne all said, "Oh." The first 2 hadn't interacted with Vanessa Fan much and believed him. As for Yvonne, she knew exactly what was going on. Cole breathed a sigh of relief. He was safe. Once they left, Serena could come out. But just then, Lynn Fan's voice came from the doorway. "No, she's not. My mom is free right now. She even told me to ask if you need more office space." No one knew when she had arrived. She just appeared silently in the doorway. "Oh, is that so? Great. I'll go over in a bit," Cole said with feigned surprise. He was screaming internally. "You little brat, when did you get here?" Yvonne chimed in. "Going a little later is fine too. Let's discuss the new layout first. Once we have a bigger space, it would be best to have a large conference room." "Yes, Yvonne is right. We also need to move some of the R&D team over here. They've been out of space for a while," Cole said, his face a mask of righteousness. He wanted to give Yvonne a thumbs up. Jasmine nodded, but her gaze fell once again on the desk, on the hardcover folder, the new copyright contract. She hadn't seen Serena leave the main office. Where was she? Jasmine hadn't ruled out the possibility of someone being under the desk. Yet, she subconsciously dismissed it as impossible. Serena wouldn't be that bold, would she? But then she thought about Serena's usual behavior, and she wasn't so sure. Around anyone but Cole, Serena was poised, graceful, and serene, perfectly matching her status. But whenever she said Cole's name, there was an unmistakable hint of a pouty, affectionate whine. It was entirely possible she would do something like this for him, and Cole was definitely the kind of person who would instigate it. Jasmine looked at her brother, who was deep in discussion, searching for any telltale signs on his face. She found nothing. His righteous expression was that of a model citizen, a pillar of the community. It was flawless. Cole's acting had always been top-notch. She was used to it. And to be fair, he really was becoming a pillar of the community. So, the probability of someone being under the desk was high. That bastard. Jasmine felt a flicker of anger. She was angry at them for being so inappropriate in the office, but she was also incredibly jealous. What were they doing under the desk? She didn't have to guess. Jasmine refused to think about it. It was too painful. If she didn't know or hadn't seen the signs, she wouldn't have made the connection. But she had, and now she couldn't unthink it. Yet, she couldn't expose them either. It would be mortifying for everyone involved. If the employees found out, it would become a huge joke. Though she was fuming inside, her face remained impassive. She heard Cole make a decision. All right, it's settled then. Everyone can get back to work. I need to review the Stone Buffalo Ridge data. That oh-so-busy, serious look on his face made Jasmine want to bite his head off. Okay, Mr. Chun, Yvonne said as she headed for the door, turning to Jasmine. Jasmine, let's talk more about the new department structure. Okay, Jasmine replied without looking at the bastard, her expression cool as she stood up to follow. I'll get back to work too, then, Luna said, glancing at Cole with a pursed-lipped smile. She was perceptive and had noticed something was off as well. She felt a little twinge of jealousy, but it wasn't overwhelming. She certainly didn't mind this kind of office activity. She was, after all, one of her brother's willing accomplices. But she knew he was about to get an earful. The three of them walked out of the office. Cole didn't move. He focused intently on the back-end data. After a while, he let out a long, slow breath. He looked down at his legal baby. Baby, I'm going up to the 8th floor to see Vanessa. You can come out in a little bit. Okay, Serena replied, sticking her tongue out playfully. Seeing that adorable expression, Cole's heart skipped a beat. He blinked. Tonight, let's go to my place and whisper secrets. You fiend, you want to do that to me again? Serena's face flushed red. It sounded like a protest, but her eyes held a flirtatious, knowing glint. She really wanted him to do that to her again. Do what? Cole couldn't resist teasing her. I'm not saying, you big fiend, you big wolf. Serena whined, giving him a light tap. They whispered to each other, their conversation turning to work. They had to change the subject. Once he had calmed down, Cole left the office and headed for the 8th floor. Serena picked up Cole's water glass from the desk and took a sip. Just as she was about to leave, she heard the click of the doorknob turning. She instinctively dove back onto the desk, moving with lightning speed. The soft footsteps sounded familiar. She could distinguish whose shoes they belonged to. It wasn't Yvonne, who wore 5-centimeter heels. It wasn't Luna, who wore soft-soled casual shoes. It was Jasmine. She wore flat ballet shoes, and this was the sound they made against the tile floor. Come on out. Isn't it uncomfortable squatting in there? Jasmine's voice came from the sofa. Serena blinked. Was Jasmine trying to trick her? It hit her. Jasmine was so smart. She must have figured it out. Just as she was about to emerge, a head appeared over the top of the desk. What's wrong? Serena, do you like hanging out under desks? Should we remodel your office into the shape of a giant desk? No need, Jasmine. I was just trying it out, Serena said, standing up awkwardly. Jasmine pulled a tissue from the box and handed it to her. Serena's face turned beet red. She hastily took the tissue and wiped frantically at the corner of her mouth. Her heart was pounding with a mix of anxiety and embarrassment. She was terrified of being scolded. She held Jasmine in high regard. Mature, intellectual, elegant. Those 3 words described Jasmine perfectly. She was dedicated and meticulous in her work, graceful and poised in her interactions with others. Since she was the one caught doing something wrong, her usual confidence evaporated. Just as she was feeling flustered and panicky, Jasmine put an arm around her shoulders. Come sit. Let's talk for a minute. Jasmine's tone was gentle, tinged with a hint of resignation. Her kind heart wouldn't let her scold Serena. The girl had already fought with her family for Cole. If she reprimanded her now, it might make her feel isolated and alone. But they still needed to talk. They sat down on the sofa together. Serena started to relax. Like a guilty schoolgirl, she looked down and fidgeted with her fingers. I'm not mad at you. It's just, this is the office. We need to be a little more careful, Jasmine said softly, her arm still around Serena's shoulders. As she said the words, Jasmine herself found it strange. This wasn't a scolding. It felt more like comforting. Her feelings were a tangled mess. She was angry, but she couldn't bring herself to be harsh. Serena was like a child sometimes. When they went shopping together, she would literally jump for joy. She was probably even more relaxed around Cole. Thinking about her sheltered upbringing, Jasmine could understand. This was actually a good state for her to be in, and Jasmine didn't have the heart to ruin it. I know, Jasmine, Serena said, ducking her head. The concern in Jasmine's voice was palpable, and it touched her deeply. She understood the reasoning. She just couldn't control herself when she was with Cole. Next time, I won't let that fiend pull me into his games, she thought. Jasmine didn't dwell on the topic. She knew Serena was smart. A gentle nudge was enough. As they talked, Serena leaned her head on Jasmine's shoulder. She had cousins, but none who were so purely supportive, so free of judgment. She loved this feeling. On the 8th floor of the gallery. Vanessa, I have to trouble you again, Cole said with a smile. Cough. It's no trouble. I want headline today and slice to get bigger and bigger. Cough, cough. I'm still waiting for your grand plan to fund my retirement. Cough. Vanessa seemed to have a cold and kept coughing into her hand. Vanessa, you need to take care of yourself. Have you seen a doctor? Cole asked with concern. I have. Cough. Got a shot. It'll probably take a few more days to get better, Vanessa said, trying hard not to cough, her face turning red from the effort. It's okay, Vanessa. If you need a cough, just cough. Holding it in is worse, Cole said, feeling bad for her. I'm afraid I'll get you sick, Vanessa shook her head. You won't. I have a strong immune system, Cole reassured her. Even if he did get sick, it was a minor thing. He was incredibly grateful to Vanessa. While part of her support was about finding a place for her daughter, Lynn, the help she had given him was immense. And she had a wonderful personality, not at all arrogant or domineering. Last month, her father had become the acting governor. Given his age, he had a good chance of becoming the full governor. Governors manage the economy, and Cole wanted to do what little he could to help. It was always good to have a big tree to rest under. With Vanessa on his side, almost no one could touch him. The only way he could repay her was to help her make more money. Hearing Cole's words, Vanessa's eyes softened. The 31st floor is mine. I'll terminate the leases and give the whole floor to you. Cough, cough. Thank you, Vanessa. I really need it. I'll cover all the termination fees, Cole said, overjoyed. 2 full floors would give them plenty of space. If you're moving Slice down there, we'll run it through Slice's books, Vanessa said, not wanting to take advantage. As a shareholder, she knew the cost had to be properly accounted for. We are moving Slice. The headline today team is bigger, so it would be more of a hassle to move, Cole nodded. He didn't refuse. Business was business. The financial statements had to be correct. The notice of the landlord-initiated lease termination went out to the other companies that same day. They weren't happy, of course, but since the landlord was willing to pay the penalty fees, there was nothing they could say. The move would take time, so Cole went back to his office to wait patiently. On his way back, as he passed the HR department, he got a glare from Jasmine. Cole's heart skipped a beat. Did she find out about Serena? He sat down in his office and sent Serena a message. Was everything okay when you came out earlier? Cole realized what the glare was about. It's over. No more office makeout sessions for me. Unless he could get Jasmine used to it. Make it a habit. That afternoon, his 3 girls went back to campus. Their advanced major courses were mandatory. Jasmine was especially busy. She had work, classes, and had to keep up with her reading. Luna was a step ahead, studying financial management. Serena was busy too, but she had a date tonight, so she skipped her evening class. After work, Cole drove to the law school to pick her up. They went to the pedestrian street for dinner. Going out shopping with Cole was one of the 2 things that made Serena happiest. She was jubilant the whole way, hopping from one store to another, not buying anything, but filled with joy. After a hot pot dinner, they went to the riverbank to look at the city lights. Cole, you have to carry me on your back like this to the riverbank in the future too, Serena said, draped over Cole's back. Her voice was sweet and crisp, every word bubbling with delight. I'll carry you all over the world. You'll be my personal pendant, Cole chuckled. Okay, baby will be your pendant. You're not allowed to take me off. Serena giggled nonstop. I won't. In a little while, I'll attach you with a hook. I don't want that. I want you to carry me. You really don't want it, You fiend. What kind of hook are you talking about? Hee hee. Exactly the one you're thinking of. Fiend. You're so bad. Then, how do you hang it? I'll tell you in a little while. Will it hurt a lot? Maybe a little at first. Baby's scared. Serena pressed her flushed cheek against Cole's neck, the 2 of them whispering shameless secrets. A handsome man and a rare, naturally beautiful girl, they attracted many envious glances along the riverbank. Cole, I noticed something strange recently. Serena suddenly whispered in his ear. What is it? Cole was also a little curious. It's Jasmine and Luna. They seem different than before, Serena said, tilting her head, a thoughtful look in her eyes. Really? They seem the same to me. Cole's heart stuttered. Has she found out? Will she mind? No, they're definitely different. It's strange. I can't put my finger on it, Serena said, thinking hard but finding no answer. Did they get taller? Cole deliberately tried to mislead her. No, it's just that. Their skin seems smoother than before. And more. Yes, more womanly. The way they walk is a little different too, Serena whispered. Your skin is great too. It's not the same. Cole, is it what? Cole felt a little nervous. He wanted to know what she thought. A blush crept up Serena's cheeks. She pressed her lips to his ear. Is it that you've hooked them onto your belt? Cole feigned confusion, but inside he was secretly pleased. The way she asked, it didn't sound like she was angry. He remained evasive. It's probably something they ate. I'll ask them about it another day. Don't ask. Serena shook her head. Then, in a voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz, she said, but I want to be hooked on too. She was still naive about certain things, not knowing exactly what it was like. She just felt that whatever they had, she had to have it too. Her words sent a wave of heat through Cole, but he had to suppress the intense urge. He had to wait until after the new year at least. Serena had to go home for the holidays, and he had to get through that first to prevent her old witch of a mother from causing trouble. Cole had never underestimated her mother. The fact that she was holding her temper was likely because she believed her daughter was still a virgin, assuming they had done nothing more than hold hands and kiss. After the new year, Serena could stay in Rockford for the whole year. A year was enough time for Cole to grow much stronger. This world still belonged to the powerful. Once you reached a certain level of strength, you could blur many of the rules. He knew that a family with their status in D.C. would never get into a public brawl over their children's affairs. It was beneath them and would make them a laughingstock in political circles. Even Helen, Serena's mother, could only pressure Serena. She didn't have the power to touch him, a law-abiding entrepreneur. After all, her family operated in the light, not the shadows. Serena could avoid her mother's pressure by simply not going home. In that instant, 1,000 thoughts flashed through Cole's mind. But what came out of his mouth was shameless. How about we hook my baby on in a little while, and then hang you there every day? If you hang me there every day, won't I break? Serena asked with adorable innocence. Every other day. Okay. They talked nonsense as they strolled until after 9 o'clock before heading back. The car passed Eastwood University without stopping, heading straight for the Golden Bay residences. I'm so scared you can't bully your baby too much. In the passenger seat, Serena covered her face shyly, only her sparkling eyes peeking out, blinking at Cole. Her sweet, delicate voice pierced right through his heart. Adorable Serena was teasing him again. It was a good thing he was as steady as a rock, or he would have lost his grip on the steering wheel. How could I? I'm a good person. No, you're not. The moment she got out of the car, Serena jumped onto Cole's back, making him carry her upstairs. The noise of the city was shut out. For the two of them, it was destined to be a sweet night. The little legal baby, completely limp, slept soundly in Cole's arms. He tucked the covers around her, then quietly watched her sleeping face. Sex was a delightful thing, but even more intoxicating was the deepening of an emotional bond. Cole could feel Serena's dependence on him growing stronger by the day, 100 times more potent than it had been during their freshman year. The feeling was mutual. She was a constant, pleasant weight in his thoughts, a treasured concern. Of course, the same was true for Jasmine and Luna. It was as if their souls were intertwined. This state of emotional fulfillment was something his past self wouldn't have dared to dream of. It was rich and satisfying, greedy and luxurious. To maintain the delicate balance, he'd even held back from sleeping with Serena, painstakingly managing things so his three darlings could coexist in peace. His relentless pursuit of money was for their protection. A few $1,000,000 would have been enough for a comfortable life, but this was different. Over the past year, the presence of these three kind, brave, and clever women had subtly changed him. Without their company, Cole knew he would be 100 times more ruthless, more cynical. The road ahead was full of challenges, but as long as they stood with him, he had the strength to face anything. Life was short. He remembered a line from a movie. You spend 10 years as a child, 10 years in old age, and if you take out the time you're asleep, you're left with about 25 years. A life with 3 partners? That was something worth fighting for. He kissed Serena's soft cheek again, his body finally relaxing. Within moments, he was sound asleep. The next morning at 8:30 in Linden Creek, it was a Saturday, so both David and Helen Shin were home. A sudden knock came at the door. The community security guard was there with a letter saying it was from the post office. Helen, who answered the door, took it without looking and handed it to her husband in the living room. No matter how close a couple was, it was better to keep a professional distance from work matters. David Shun's brow furrowed. His first thought was that it was an anonymous tip, a complaint letter. He sat down on the living room sofa, his expression grim as he tore it open, bracing himself for some earth-shattering accusation. As he read, his face turned black. It was indeed an accusation, but it wasn't about city politics. It was about Cole Chen's cheating heart. What is it, David? Is it serious? Helen asked, concerned. Well, it's both serious and not serious, David grumbled, glancing at his wife, hesitating. Seeing his strange reaction, Helen reached for the letter. Let me see. If it were official business, her husband wouldn't have been so conflicted. He would have just said it needed to be dealt with. David handed it over. He was furious himself. That little bastard was juggling 3 women at once. How could he not be angry? It was a testament to his self-control that he wasn't shouting. This was a moment for a united front. Halfway through the letter, Helen's face was twitching with rage. After forcing herself to finish, she waved the paper furiously. See, I told you that boy was no good. How long has it been? Serena has been completely corrupted by him. I told you we should have her transfer schools, and you didn't support me. Now look, what are you going to do about it? David's face remained dark, and he didn't speak for a long time. His heart ached. Had his daughter been so thoroughly fooled? How could she not have noticed something like this? Helen's voice grew shrill. I told you we shouldn't let her date a businessman. The second they get money, they get a wandering eye. You called her right now. Forbid her from ever seeing that punk again. And as soon as this semester is over, she's transferring. David's heart sank. He hated hearing that phrase, but the familiar sting of it shocked him into a moment of clarity. Who sent this letter? What was their motive? Was any of it even true? He raised a hand to calm her. Helen, sit down. I don't think this is that simple. Cole is a big target now. This could just be a rival trying to sabotage him. Our daughter is smart. How could she not know? But she hasn't mentioned any trouble, so I have my doubts. You're still defending him. You. Helen stopped short. She wasn't an idiot. Sabotage was a possibility. Who else would bother with something like this? After a few seconds of simmering frustration, she spoke again. Then what do you suggest we do? What if it's true? After all, girls this age get stupid when they fall in love. Wasn't I the same way back then? She trailed off abruptly. The same way as what? David's face was calm, but a dark light flickered in his eyes. The same way you were fooled by me? That's not what I meant. Helen realized her slip of the tongue. Glancing at her husband's expression, she quickly sat beside him. David, that's not it. I'm just worried about Serena getting hurt. She could end up with a broken heart and a ruined future. That is what you meant, David said, his voice flat. He set aside his daughter's issue for a moment. Just say it. You regret it, don't you? No, I really don't. Helen insisted, shaking his leg gently. You think I ruined your future, don't you? You think you were fooled, marrying someone from a business background. David's mood was foul, and the usual tenderness in his voice vanished. David Shun, can you please be reasonable? We've been married for decades. Is there any point in bringing this up now? Helen's temper flared. Yes, there's a point. What have I worked for my whole life? You know damn well, since you regret it, you can go pursue your great future. I won't stop you. Old resentments mixed with new anger, and words he'd never say normally came tumbling out. You have to be like this, don't you? Am I wrong to worry about Serena? You're not wrong. Your only mistake was marrying me. David's gaze turned cold as he looked away. You? Helen was speechless, her chest heaving. She took a long, deep breath. I'm going to Eastwood to see Serena. You can stay here. With that, she stood up and went to her room to pack, clearly done with the conversation. David's face was a mask of anger. They had never clashed like this before. It felt awful, as if a great chasm had opened between them. After a moment, he tried to reason with her. You shouldn't go. Let the kid have her freedom. If something was really wrong, she would have told us. Not necessarily. When you're that infatuated, you don't say anything. I'm going to check on her. And if he's hurt her, then he'll have me to answer to. Take me to the bus station. David fell silent. Let her go. It probably wouldn't accomplish anything anyway. On a street not far from the district apartments, a BMW X5 was parked. Behind the tinted window, Tyler watched the community entrance. Half an hour later, he saw the Shin's car pull out. A smirk spread across Tyler's face. It must have worked. He'd taken time off from school just for this. He'd had someone else mail the letter to avoid being traced. Every time he saw news about Cole on Headline Today, he seethed with jealousy. Why did Cole Chun get to walk all over him? Now all his old classmates practically worship Cole, and they look down on Tyler, seeing him as just some kid living off his parents' money, nothing compared to Cole's self-made success. It pissed him off so much he'd even cut back on his charity work of helping fallen women. One day, a classmate casually mentioned the online rumor that Cole might have 3 girlfriends, his voice full of envy. That got Tyler's attention. He did some digging. Holy crap. One was Cole's gorgeous sister, Jasmine Young. Another was the campus queen, Serena Shun. And the third he'd seen over the new year, another absolute stunner. Why him? The jealousy and hatred festered in Tyler's heart. And so, the anonymous letter was born. Whether it succeeded or not didn't matter. Just stirring up trouble was satisfying enough. An identical letter was also delivered to Spicy Mama's Foods, LLC, to the Young family. John Young had received legal notices and all sorts of official documents, but this was the first time he'd received a personal letter like this. It was typed, so there was no handwriting to analyze. After reading it, he passed it to his wife. You should see this. After she finished, they both fell silent. The letter didn't name the other 2 girls, only stating they were high-level executives at Headline Today. Should we ask Jasmine? Mary Young asked hesitantly. John Young shook his head. No need. Jasmine is sharp. If Cole was in some kind of trouble, she'd know. You're right. I find it strange, too, Mary said, looking puzzled. Cole's not the same person he was. He's young, successful, and has a lot to lose. It's only natural that people are jealous, John said. With his own business experience, he naturally considered other angles. He was still amazed by it all. A quiet, slightly introverted kid becoming a multimillionaire in just over a year was almost unimaginable. That's true, Mary nodded. The new thought occurred to her. Who do you think would send a letter like this? Isn't it obvious? The sender has to be in Linden Creek, John said, his eyes glinting. If they weren't familiar with town, how would they mail it here? And they addressed it to Spicy Mamas, which means they know we've rebranded. So who do you think it is? Mary asked. Either one of Jasmine's classmates or one of Cole's. An older person wouldn't bother with this kind of gossip. They fell silent again. Of course they were worried. A young man as outstanding as Cole was bound to attract women. Who knew how many more he'd attract in the future? They had discussed this possibility before, but their trust in their daughter had kept them from saying anything. Suddenly, Mary said, but what if it's true? Trust Jasmine, John said with a soft laugh. She knows what she's doing. This is for the younger generation to figure out. I suppose so, Mary said, a smile finally returning to her face. We'll let our majority shareholder worry about it. The 2 kids had always had a wonderful relationship. They'd never even had a real argument. That was better than most couples. He'd gifted her millions in stock without a second thought. The money was secondary. The act itself showed that they were inseparable. The Yangs decided not to mention the letter to Helen Shun. In Rockford, inside a quiet coffee shop, Sabrina Ning was sitting with her friend Sophia Song, who had flown in for a visit. It makes me so mad. Sabrina fumed, her face a mask of resentment. They're all so vulgar. They act all sweet and gentle, but it's all a front. She seemed to have forgotten that she was the biggest pretender of them all. I told you that approach wouldn't work, Sophia said, giving her friend a disdainful look. No one puts on an act better than you. How was I supposed to know they were such good actresses? They've all got the minds of ancient demons. The humiliation of being slapped still stung. Just let it go. Your dad already made his position clear. This guy's probably untouchable, Sophia said, gently stirring her coffee with a small spoon. It sounded like advice, but it was designed to provoke. As expected, Sabrina looked like she couldn't swallow the insult. Let it go. I got hit. How can I just let it go? Whose side are you on, anyway? I'm on your side, of course, Sophia sighed. But what can we do now? Sabrina's eyes darted around. She leaned in conspiratorially. What if I expose him online? Tell everyone he's tangled up with 3 different girls? And do what? It's useless, Sophia said, shaking her head with a dismissive pout. The rumors are already out there, and who cares? He's not married. If that was going to work, his business rivals would have done it already. It was a worthless idea. Unless he was married, an infidelity scandal would barely make a dent in his reputation. Then what? I can't just let this go, Sabrina groaned, realizing her friend was right. She'd had the same thought and knew it was a long shot. She was just desperate. Her father's words had hinted that Serena Shun came from a powerful family. A direct confrontation was impossible. I still think you should have gone for the direct approach, Sophia said, sticking to her original opinion. Forget the other 3 and just go after Cole. If her friend had just gone for Cole from the start, things might have turned out differently. But what am I supposed to do now? I can't exactly pursue him, can I? Sabrina looked dejected. Just lay low for a while. What's the rush? Sophia said, tapping her fingernails nonchalantly. Work on your image. Who knows? Maybe he'll start thinking about you. She was a little annoyed with her friend for messing things up so badly, cutting off her own path to Cole. Seeing that Sabrina wasn't taking her advice to heart, she continued, men are all the same. They love to chase women who are distant. They're curious about the unknown, about the conquest. Even if he has 3 girlfriends, he'll get tired of them eventually. When you come back with an even bigger halo, he might not be able to resist. That's when you'll have your chance for revenge. But that's not what you said before. Weren't you the one who went right up and tried to seduce him? Sabrina shot back, skeptical. That was then, this is now, Sophia said, offering a self-serving explanation. I had to make an impression first. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know who I am. He's surrounded by proper, ladylike girls. When he sees someone wild and passionate like me, he might remember it later, when he's feeling lonely. I doubt it, Sabrina said, shaking her head, her eyes full of resentment. Who knows if those 3 are just as wild and passionate in private. I thought they were all gentle, but it turns out they're all thugs. Being slapped and pinned down wasn't the worst of it. The attack on her intelligence and judgment was the deepest wound. They sat in silence for a moment. Sophia took a sip of her coffee, a strange look in her eyes as a thought occurred to her. I have another idea, she said. It just depends on whether you have the guts to do it. What is it? We still go through the girls. Only this time, it's not you. We hire an actor. A handsome, charming, suave gentleman. You think it will work? They seem completely devoted to him. You never know. I was devoted to my ex-boyfriend, but that didn't stop me from finding a new one. Women are just like men. We like novelty. As long as you let a woman know it can be a secret, that it won't affect her life, she'll most likely be tempted to try. It's not just men who cheat. Even the most faithful woman can be worn down by a persistent man. What woman doesn't crave a little excitement? Why else do so many people break up? But isn't that more for women who are sexually frustrated? Sabrina asked, still doubtful. It's the same for everyone. Plenty of high schoolers break up for that reason. Seeking a thrill has no age limit. You study psychology. Why are you asking me? I just think they hide it well. I'm afraid it won't work on them, Sabrina said, a shadow of fear in her heart. Especially Luna. That girl had delivered a critical blow to her soul. She was always so meek and quiet, her voice so soft. Damn it, she turned into a violent brute, so crude. Sabrina instinctively touched her own hair, still shaken. That experience was worse than being slapped. She had always been the bully. That day, Luna had bullied her. Suit yourself, Sophia said with a shrug. If you want to try it, try it. I'm just offering a suggestion. She wasn't going to try it herself. Her angry, resentful friend was the perfect candidate. Whether it worked or ended in disaster, it was a win for Sophia. She could occasionally try to flirt with Cole without any direct conflict. If she succeeded, great. If not, no hard feelings. Her friend's spectacular failure had made her cautious. So, who do we target? Sabrina was tempted. Finding an actor would be easy. There were plenty of conceited, pretty boys who dreamed of mooching off a rich woman. She despised that type, no better than street hustlers. Go for the older one. She's probably got more on her mind. She's the most ladylike of the bunch, Sophia said, lighting a slim cigarette with a flick of her lighter, speaking like a worldly philosopher. The more ladylike a woman is, the more repressed she is. That's possible, Sabrina agreed. A truly proper lady was rare. Most were faking it. She looked at Sophia. I have another question. What? Sophia exhaled a puff of smoke. Cole is already so handsome. Will hiring another handsome guy even work? You don't get it. Men and women both crave novelty. Even if her man is the most handsome guy in the world, if the temptation is strong enough, she'll cheat. I suppose so, Sabrina said, glancing at her best friend. She made a mental note. If she ever got married, she would have to keep Sophia far away from her husband. And if that husband was Cole, she'd have to put a GPS tracker on him. Sophia continued sagely. If you're going after the older one, what's her name? Jasmine Young. Right, Jasmine Young. You can't use a younger guy. You need someone handsome, mature, well-built, and sophisticated, but with a wild streak. Proper ladies love that type. I have another question, Sabrina said, her expression strange. What is it? Sophia was stunned. It was true. That's why she'd been drawn to him at first sight. After a moment, she adjusted her strategy. Then find someone tall and handsome on the outside. A refined gentleman with deep, soulful eyes. Ugh, Sabrina sighed, remembering Cole at the opening convocation. Her friend was full of useless ideas. What are you sighing for? That type will definitely work. Work my ass. Cole is exactly like that. Why else do you think I like him? Sabrina retorted irritably. What? Sophia didn't believe it. It's true, Sabrina said, describing Cole from the convocation. They both fell silent again. Well, how about a handsome young guy who's a smooth talker, a total flirt, the kind who can charm the pants off anyone? Just his persistence alone could win over a proper lady. Sophia made one last desperate attempt. You think so? Won't that just disgust her? Sabrina was skeptical. That description definitely didn't fit Cole, but for some reason, she felt a flicker of unease. The two of them began discussing where to find such a person. 8 o'clock that evening, in the CEO's office at Headline Today. Jasmine was leaning against the wall, one leg extended in a perfect standing split, a standard exercise for increasing flexibility and opening the hips. Her eyes were a complex mix of love, blame, helplessness, and overwhelming happiness. There was also a hint of pleading. Her breathing was unique, short, rapid, and stuttering. Holding the pose for a long time was tiring, but not when someone was there to support her. I'm trying to talk to you about something serious. And you're doing this again. Doing what? Cole murmured, kissing her cheek. So fragrant. I hate you. Jasmine's perfect brows furrowed. She said she hated him, but her watery eyes were filled with nothing but love and joy. She had come to visit him since he was working late, intending to talk to him about not fooling around in the office. The conversation had lasted all of 2 minutes before it had led to this. It wasn't until after 10 that they finally lay tangled together on the sofa. Jasmine gently wiped the sweat from his brow, her voice a playfully scolding whisper. You're a madman. It's your fault for mesmerizing me. If you were just a little less amazing, I wouldn't go crazy. Cole shot back, the words landing straight in her heart, making it bloom with delight. She gave him a sideways glance. Smooth talker. You're always sweet-talking me. Cole held her close. I want to sweet-talk you for the resto for live, sis. Then you'd better not break your promise, Jasmine whispered, having long forgotten the purpose of her visit, lost in his deep, affectionate gaze. I'm not an idiot. A woman as beautiful as you. I wish I could carry you on my back every day. Cole chuckled. You wicked thing. You've ruined me for life. If you dare break your promise, I'll kill you, Jasmine said with a playful pout, pinching his cheek. Before he could answer, she asked a sudden question. Cole, who's better, me or Luna? Huh. Cole froze for a split second before recovering. He touched her lips. You're both perfect. Jasmine's eyes narrowed. Unfazed, Cole changed the subject. But you, sis, you always make me lose control. Every time I see you, my mind starts wandering. Whenever you do your warm-up stretches, I feel like I'm going to go insane. That's all you think about, Jasmine said, pretending to be displeased as she tapped his forehead. But her beautiful eyes were filled with pride. Entertaining her little brother with her beauty was exactly what she wanted. Sis, I'm a little hungry. I want to eat, Cole whined shamelessly. You're a grown man. Have you no shame? Even after being intimate so many times, his words still made her blush. It had become a habit. She thought it might be a psychological quirk, one they both shared, but it was beautiful. It gave her a special kind of peace. Though her words were dismissive, her body shifted upward. She knew that in some ways, she couldn't compare to Luna. But on a spiritual level, in his world, she was invincible. No one could usurp her position. Cole buried his head, smiling to himself. He had once again successfully dodged a lethal question. Jasmine often launched these surprise attacks, and he had to be quick on his feet. The office grew quiet and blissful, the city lights filtering through the window. With only the gallery tower nearby, it felt safe and private. Much later, they returned to the Golden Bay residences. It was a perfect autumn night, not too cold, not too dry. Jasmine couldn't resist his persistent affection and indulged him twice more. The next day, a beautiful Sunday, all she wanted to do was stay in bed. She didn't even want to read. Cole, on the other hand, was full of energy again. At the Eastwood Law School dorms, Serena walked downstairs with a mix of emotions. Her mother was here. She hadn't called ahead, just a sudden call saying she was downstairs. As Serena stepped out of the building, she saw her mother sitting on a planter in the distance. She hadn't driven, so she must have taken the bus. And she must have come in a hurry. At that moment, Helen also saw her daughter. She focused intently on Serena's gait. From what she could tell, everything was normal. A woman knows a woman. The way her legs came together without a gap when she walked proved her daughter was still a virgin. Helen felt a wave of relief. As long as she was still a virgin, she could focus on her studies. Once a girl lost her virginity, she was likely to get lost in the haze of a passionate romance, unable to escape, just as Helen herself had, all those years ago. As her daughter drew closer, she studied her face. Yes, everything seemed fine. Mom, Serena called out, sitting down beside her. She felt a mix of love and resentment for her mother, but they were mother and daughter, and that incident was long in the past. "Hello, dear. How have you been at school?" Helen didn't mention the anonymous letter. The sender was clearly trying to stir up trouble, but since the ultimate line hadn't been crossed, other things weren't as important. As someone with a political background, she wasn't so easily provoked. If, however, her daughter had crossed that line, it would be a different story. "I'm fine. Did you just get here this morning?" Serena asked. "I came yesterday. I spent the evening catching up with your Aunt Eva," Helen said. The moment she arrived in Rockford, she had sought out Professor Evelyn to get the latest on Cole. She hadn't known the full story, and what she learned was shocking. That boy was already a multimillionaire. The scale of it was hard for an ordinary person to grasp, yet this young sophomore had achieved it. Last night, her friend had even tried to persuade her, saying a young man like that was truly exceptional and she should just let the kids be. She'd even joked that if it weren't for Serena, she'd want to introduce her own daughter to him. Her daughter was only 16. She could start by getting to know him as a big brother. Her friend's joke had thrown Helen into a momentary state of confusion. It was true. A Cole who had reached that level of success was incredibly impressive. But after wrestling with it, her dream of her daughter entering politics remained. "Is something wrong, Mom?" Serena asked, looking at her mother's profile. She thought of all the care her mother had given her over the years. Her heart softened, and she linked her arm through her mother's. "Nothing's wrong. I just came to see you." Helen glanced at her daughter's hand, a pang of sourness in her heart. The questions she wanted to ask got stuck in her throat. She wanted to know how things were progressing between her daughter and Cole. "I'm doing really well, Mom. I think I've even put on some weight," Serena said with a small smile. "You haven't gained weight, but your complexion is much better," Helen said, studying her daughter's face. Her complexion was indeed glowing, rosy and pinkish. She looked healthier than when Helen had been caring for her. A strange acidity filled her. They were definitely dating. She had been the same way once. It was just that Serena's father had been impatient, afraid she'd run away, and had sweet-talked her into bed. Now, seeing her daughter looking more radiant than ever, didn't that just prove she hadn't done a good enough job raising her? "Well, there's less pressure now," Serena said, shyly touching her cheek. She was immediately thinking of her Cole. He was always teasing and doting on her in all sorts of ways. Of course, her mood was good, and her complexion was glowing. "It's good that you don't have too much pressure," Helen said, her heart growing heavier. Her daughter's words felt like a direct jab at her. That shy expression was clearly the look of someone with her heart set on one person. And her daughter's current affection felt like it was separated by a thin sheet of paper. The old intimacy was gone from her eyes. This pierced Helen's heart like a knife. She couldn't understand what she had done wrong. Was wanting a better future for her daughter a mistake? With her uncle's connections, who wouldn't show her respect? Her daughter's future would be smooth sailing. Love was just a spice in life. It would fade over time. She was truly thinking of what was best for her daughter. Serena didn't say anything else, not knowing what to say. The atmosphere grew silent. "Professor Lin told me you quit the Law Society," Helen finally asked. "Yes. It took up too much time, and I'm very short on time right now," Serena said, pressing her lips together. In the past, she wouldn't have dared to answer so directly, let alone quit the society. Now, she felt at ease. "Are you that busy?" Helen suppressed her dissatisfaction. Quitting the Law Society meant a significant entry was missing from her resume. "Very busy. I have classes and work," Serena said, looking off into the distance. "This isn't the time to be working. It's not like you need the money. You should be focusing on your studies." Helen couldn't help but lecture again. A sense of loss washed over her. Her daughter hadn't asked for pocket money in a long time. Her friend had said Serena was already the VP of legal at Headline today. How could someone so young be a vice president? "Work isn't stressful. It's just busy sometimes, but it's very fulfilling," Serena said, glancing at her mother. "What's your monthly salary? If it's not much, you might as well quit and focus on your studies." Helen didn't want to give up and tried another angle. How much could a sophomore possibly make? It wasn't as if the family couldn't support her. "It's a lot. $15,000 a month. He insisted on giving it to me," Serena said with a shy smile. "How much?" Helen thought she had misheard. 15,000. 15,000? Helen's eyes widened. That was nearly 200,000 a year after taxes. Not counting benefits, that was more than her father made in a year. "MMHMM. He said it's just temporary and that he'll give me a raise next year." Serena enjoyed seeing her mother's surprise. "Is it because of your relationship?" Helen couldn't help but think of other possibilities, and her face darkened. If it was for other reasons, wouldn't that be like being a kept woman? That was absolutely unacceptable. "Of course not. The other VPs make the same. The R&D department makes the most, several times what we do. Serena sighed internally. Her mother was a bit old-fashioned. Her views couldn't keep up with the times. Helen fell silent. She believed it was true, but what frustrated her was that she could no longer find a reason to argue. After a moment's hesitation, she finally decided to bring up the anonymous letter. Serena, do you know him well? Of course. Serena answered without a second's thought. Do you know he's involved with other girls? Helen stared intently at her daughter's expression. Huh, is he? Who told you that? That's not true, Serena said, looking genuinely surprised. And she was surprised. Where had her mother heard that? Online? But she didn't use the internet much. Your father received an anonymous letter. It said that this Chun character is involved with 3 different girls. Helen finally dropped the bomb. She wanted her daughter to know, hoping it would make her despise him and break up with him. What was the point of having money? If his business collapsed, all the money in the world wouldn't matter. And her daughter getting involved in business would be extremely detrimental to her future. If she accidentally got implicated in some financial scandal, it would be too late for regrets. An anonymous letter? Did they find out who sent it? Serena's gaze sharpened. She instantly pieced it together. For someone to mail a letter to her home, they had to know her well. In her university records, she hadn't listed her father's official position. The district apartments were registered under the name Grandview Estates. Most people didn't know that name. It only existed in the housing authority's records. Everyone in Linden Creek just called it the district apartments. She already had a suspect in mind, but no proof. She needed to tell Cole about this to be safe. We don't know who sent it. That's not important. What's important is whether Cole is doing this or not. Do you know about it? Helen tried to read her daughter's face for any sign, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. There's nothing like that going on, Serena said, her expression unchanged. Whether there was or not, her mother would find out eventually. But she didn't want to say it. The more she asked, the less she wanted to say. Are you sure? I'm sure. Fine. Just be careful. You don't want to ruin your reputation. People will talk. Helen couldn't find any useful information. Helpless, she had to end the topic. She was afraid of causing another rift with her daughter. Just a moment ago, her daughter's hand had slipped away from her arm. She asked about her studies, and Serena answered all her questions. What amazed Helen was her daughter's demeanor. She was no longer the obedient girl who simply answered questions. Instead, she seemed composed and confident, her bearing steady. It was as if 2 adults were having a conversation. In terms of growth, this was a good thing. But she also felt it was a wild, uncontrolled state, which was a bad thing. After chatting for about an hour, Helen left. Serena saw her off at the bus station. On the way back, she sent a message to Cole, telling him what had happened. At that moment, Cole was messaging Wyatt with one hand while massaging Jasmine's shoulders with the other as she lay on her stomach. Serena had only said it was likely an acquaintance. He instantly thought of one person. Besides Phoebe, there weren't many people who knew Serena's home address. The others wouldn't be so bored. Only Tyler had the motive. But he still needed to confirm it. He sent a message to a contact, asking him to do something. When Tyler got cocky, he couldn't keep a secret. If they had some mutual acquaintances, keep an eye on him, they'd eventually find a clue. And if it was him, humph, the son of a gravel pit owner was about to lose his inheritance. He replied to Serena, "Don't worry, babe. I'll look for evidence first." Serena replied instantly, "Okay, my mom was here, but it's fine. Cole, you worked hard, babe." His girl had definitely stood up to the old dragon lady's pressure. "Serena, you have to reward me." Kiss emoji. Cole chuckled silently to himself. "Okay, how about I give you a foot massage?" Serena, "You'll be naughty." Blushing emoji. Cole, "I'm a good guy." Serena, "You devil. You have to wait until tomorrow night. I'm going to Luna's dorm now. Then we're all going to the cafeteria and studying together." Cole, "Okay, sounds good." It was his wish for the 2 of them to be close. Serena didn't have good roommates, but Brianna and Felicity were trustworthy. They chatted for a little while longer. After putting his phone down, Cole said to Jasmine, "Sis, let's go out to eat." "Then you'd better get off." Jasmine's voice was weak and tired. Reluctantly, Cole got off. He carried the unmoving Jasmine to the bathroom to wash up. An hour later, they still hadn't made it out to eat. "You lunatic, you demon, I'm going to bite you." Jasmine collapsed on the sofa, pinching and biting her brother, who was sitting beside her. "Sis, I'll go downstairs and get us something," Cole said, ignoring the sting on his shoulder as he kissed her hair, taking a deep breath of her scent. It was a special fragrance, incredibly pleasant. "Okay, go. I'm starving. My energy is completely drained. You're so annoying." Jasmine weakly hammered her brother's shoulder, then closed her eyes to rest. She truly didn't want to move a muscle. Her entire body felt limp. But her brother's mad obsession with her filled her with immense satisfaction and joy. The feeling of their hearts and souls intertwined was the most secure feeling in the world. The faint, nagging fear of losing him had been completely washed away. They ate and rested for the rest of the day. That night, after much coaxing, she finally managed to rein him in by promising to wear the stockings he wanted next time. Late at night, a winter chill was already in the air. But inside the Bimmer Lounge on the riverfront, the atmosphere was scorching hot. Silhouettes swayed to the rhythm of the music. As one of the most famous nightclubs in the country, the Bimmer Lounge was never quiet. In a corner booth sat two beautiful girls. One was sexy, the other looked innocent. The surrounding patrons only dared to sneak a glance. Even the most arrogant rich kids in Rockford didn't dare approach. Standing behind the two girls were 8 bodyguards. They were powerfully built, with sharp eyes, clearly not people to be trifled with. Across from them, a young man was waving his hands, shaking his head vehemently. You should have told me it was Jasmine Yang. I wouldn't have even come. I can't do this job. What's wrong with Jasmine Yang? She's beautiful. Don't you like her? Sophia Song asked, curious. They had a few candidates lined up, and the first was this guy from Eastwood Tech, Trevor Foam. They'd heard he was a womanizer, a natural at chasing girls. It's no use. She's beautiful, sure, but, it's hard to explain, Trevor said with a bitter smile. You guys don't know about what happened at the freshman welcome showcase, do you? If you'd mentioned her name, someone would have told you. Ever since that incident, his luck had taken a nosedive. He kept striking out with girls. He used to think he had a shot with Jasmine, but now he would go out of his way to avoid her if he saw her from a distance. He felt completely inadequate. She was a graduate student, a vice president at Headline Today, and Cole Chen's sister. She even had a female bodyguard picking her up from school. Sorry, I have to go, Trevor said, standing up. The two girls in front of him were attractive, but he didn't dare have any ideas. He could read it in their eyes. They didn't even see him as a person. Give him the hush money, Sabrina Ning said, nodding her chin at Trevor. The head bodyguard pulled out a thick wad of cash, counted out $1,000, and handed it to Trevor, his voice low. Forget we ever talked. If we find out you've leaked anything, you know what will happen. I know, don't worry. Trevor took the money with a look of delight. Free money was free money. The bar was noisy. No one had heard what they were talking about. After he left, Sabrina said, looks like he's scared of Cole. I told you we shouldn't look for someone from her school, and definitely not from Eastwood. Don't worry, there are others, Sophia said calmly. They interviewed 2 more, but they weren't satisfied. They were smooth talkers, but too sleazy. They had the air of pimps from a brothel. Until the last one. He had full red lips, a pale complexion, and a handsome face. He spoke well and seemed to have some culture. His name, however, was cringeworthy. Julian. It sounded like a stage name for someone who specialized in mooching off rich women. Taking the file the bodyguard handed him, she saw that it was true. He specialized in meeting rich, lonely older women. Sabrina suppressed her disgust and forced herself to read on. Rich, older women wasn't the graceful, mature type. The words meant exactly what they said. Old women, that's it, and usually overweight and out of shape. The truly graceful and mature ones were already kept by someone else. This guy had a thick skin and had been around money. He might just work. So, ladies, what can I do for you? Julian's smile was a little fawning. The 2 women in front of him were exactly the type of sugar mamas he dreamed of, but unfortunately, they seemed completely out of his league. I have a job for you. Seduce a girl. If you succeed, I'll give you $50,000, Sabrina said, her face expressionless. And if you can't succeed, you still have to stick to her and create the illusion of success. Understand? Sophia added. Understand. Who is she? Hearing the 50,000, Julian's eyes lit up, and he nodded eagerly. He was good at this. Chasing girls was all about being thick-skinned and having money. It was usually a sure thing. He'd use the money he got from the old ladies to act rich and easily win over younger girls. Sabrina handed him a printed photo. She'd had someone at Eastwood Tech take it secretly. Wow. Julian took it and was stunned. She was a goddess, but he didn't recognize her. This seemed a little difficult. You'll have to figure out how to meet her yourself. She's at Eastwood Tech and is a vice president at Headline Today. She's rich. Sabrina emphasized the word rich. If you succeed, you'll be set for life. Remember, even if you can't succeed, you have to create the illusion of success. That's very important. Sophia repeated. Ladies, I'll need a little startup capital, Julian said with a fawning smile. This was a great gig, a sure bet. As for Headline Today, he'd heard of it, but hadn't paid much attention. Besides using Facebook Messenger and playing games, He didn't have much contact with the rest of the internet. The head bodyguard took out a stack of bills and handed it to him. Julian took it, the feel of the crisp, new $100 bills telling him it was a fresh stack of 1,000. His smile broadened. "Don't worry, ladies. I'll do my best. I definitely won't let you down. Take the money and do the job. Don't even think about running." The head bodyguard stared at him menacingly. Of course. Don't worry." Julian nodded like a bobblehead. Anyway, even if he couldn't win her over, he just had to create a misunderstanding. He already understood what they wanted. They must have a grudge and wanted to ruin something. But he also thought about the consequences. The fact that these two girls had to hire an outsider meant the target wasn't someone they could easily confront. But that $50,000 echoed in his mind. Fortune favors the bold. He had to take the risk. He needed to do some research on this headline today. After leaving the bar, he returned to his small apartment. Based on the information they gave him, he pondered what to wear. His closet was filled with various styles to cater to the different tastes of his rich, older clients. Ladylike, reserved, he'd go with sportswear to look energetic. After changing into a light gray tracksuit, he stood in front of the mirror, preening, running a hand through his bangs. Not bad, but he needed a haircut. This look was too much a pretty boy. He needed to switch to a shorter, wilder style. A week later, Slice Video moved to the 31st floor. Both it and Headline Today now had more spacious offices. Cole's new photo editing app, Glow Up, was launched. It was a joint investment by Headline Today and Slice Video, with a senior R&D employee serving as its president. The program was developed by his special effects team. By this time, other beauty apps already dominated the market, but that didn't stop Glow Up from carving out a piece for itself. Its office was in a corner of the 31st floor. The Artificial Intelligence Research Lab had also produced its first results. The Oracle QA browser and app were launched, specializing in question and answer functions. All the necessary paperwork had been prepared before the launch. The project leader was appointed president, and Oracle QA's office was carved out of a corner on the 32nd floor. Both new companies would move to more suitable locations when they became available. Two senior R&D employees had finally made it. The core trio of the R&D center wasn't jealous. They knew they would always be core executives of the parent company, a position with a different kind of prestige. Wyatt, in particular, was content as the VP of R&D. Cole paid him an incredibly high salary, so high that his peers could only look on with envy. Most company presidents didn't have his compensation package. Several headhunters had contacted him, but he had flatly refused them all. It was a no-brainer. Capital was ruthless. Use and discard was its true nature. But at Headline Today, he was the boss's senior from college. The two newly established companies didn't cause much of a stir in the tech world. Companies were founded every day, and major corporations were constantly investing to secure a larger share of the future market. Headline Today, though profitable, was not yet their main rival. The real battles were between the giants. The clashes between the CEOs of companies like MarketPost and Vantage Ventures were relentless. ConnectSphere CEO had even more rivals. ConnectSphere's investments were broad, covering finance, logistics, entertainment, and more, creating a market matrix. Vantage, Tenegrade, and Yelp were all major competitors. Headline Today was on the list, but at the very bottom. ConnectSphere was already a mega giant. In September, it had just won a major lawsuit against a security firm, its prestige at an all-time high. But for now, it wouldn't bother with Headline Today. After a comprehensive analysis, Cole ramped up the promotion of his two new apps. A few days later, on the Eastwood Tech campus, Julian was wandering around disguised as a student, his mood sour. This $50,000 seemed a little hard to earn. He had already snuck in 3 times. He rarely saw his target, and the information he'd gathered indicated that she had a very cold personality. A stunningly beautiful face, a graduate student, a corporate executive, and the CEO's surrogate sister. It all made Julian feel inferior. He walked, giving himself a pep talk. She's just a woman. With my looks, I should at least be able to get her attention. If all else fails, I'll just lower my goal and create the illusion of success. Who knows, it might even work. Today, he was near the MBA classroom building, hoping to run into his target there. He checked the time. Class should be getting out soon. A few moments later, his eyes lit up. There she was. He ducked behind a tree, pulled out a small mirror to check his reflection, and fluffed up his new short haircut. He flashed a sunny smile. Feeling good about himself, his confidence returned. He took a deep breath, put on a calm expression, and started jogging toward his target, pretending to be out for a run. He deliberately didn't look at her, trying to create the persona of someone who didn't care about looks. At that moment, Jasmine was walking with her friend Alex. They were planning to grab a bite at the cafeteria and then head to the office. A figure in a tracksuit jogged past. She paid him no mind, continuing her conversation with Alex about the administration of the tea alchemist. The figure, who should have passed them, jogged backward a few steps. "Hi, excuse me. Can you tell me which way the cafeteria is?" Jasmine pointed without breaking her conversation with Alex. The tea shop now had more employees, not just students, but also many people from off-campus. "Thanks." The man jogged away again. Jasmine didn't think anything of it until he jogged backward again. He jogged in place, a bright smile on his face, his voice steady and clear. "Hey, I'm not really familiar with this campus. Can I walk with you guys?" "Don't worry, I won't bother you." Jasmine and Alex exchanged a look. Alex chuckled, looking the man up and down. "You're not a student here, are you?" His features were decent, but he was too pale. The smile looked sunny, but his eyes weren't quite right. A person's eyes change with their emotions. If you look closely, you can always spot something off. "I am. I'm in the College of Renewable Energy. I like to run, so I explore the campus when I have time," Julian said, maintaining his smile, though he felt a flicker of nervousness. He had prepared for this, choosing a college that was far from the business school, so they wouldn't bother to check. Getting closer, he realized his target was truly beautiful. So beautiful it made him feel inadequate, but it also sparked a genuine desire. If he could win her over, his life would be complete. "Ahem, friend," Alex said, shaking her head with a smile. "I know what the students in the College of Renewable Energy are like, and you're not one of them, and they definitely don't go out for runs." She added, "You should probably go back where you came from before you regret it." "I don't know what you mean. I'm really just out for a run. I won't disturb you. I just want to find the cafeteria," Julian said with a casual smile, shaking his head slightly to show his sincerity. He stopped jogging and started walking with them, planning to stick to them. He was starting to get annoyed with the girl who was talking. The main target hadn't even said anything, so why was she piping up? But Jasmine and Alex stopped walking, letting him get a few steps ahead. Julian sensed something was wrong. He turned, made a cool shrugging gesture, and smiled. "All right, I'll find it myself. Thanks, anyway." With that, he jogged away. Good things come to those who wait. Since she was wary, he would back off for now. At least he knew he could find her on this path. Watching him go, Alex pursed her lips. "Well, there's a brave one, trying to challenge the jealousy of our dear CEO, Chun." "He's not jealous, he's just very possessive of me," Jasmine corrected. "Possessive is a compliment coming from you," Alex huffed. Then she asked, "So, what are you going to do about him?" "What else can I do?" "I'll tell Cole," Jasmine said without a second thought. Her brother could be very petty. If he found out about this guy, and she didn't tell him, he would be furious. As she spoke, she was already pulling out her phone, texting while she talked to Alex. "This guy is definitely not from Eastwood Tech. He's probably already out of college. Otherwise, who would dare to approach you?" Alex analyzed. "I don't care where he's from. I just don't want him to bother me." Jasmine's eyes turned cold. She didn't want her life with her brother to be disturbed. At headline today, when Cole saw Jasmine's message, his face darkened. Where did this kamikaze pilot come from? This guy was definitely not a student at Eastwood Tech or Eastwood University. An outsider sneaking onto campus to ask his sister for directions? This had to be a setup. Otherwise, who would sneak into a school to play dress-up? He sent a message to the security department group chat and called Sasha in. "Sasha, take someone with you to Eastwood Tech tomorrow morning. Keep an eye on my sister from a distance." Cole explained the situation. Sasha understood immediately. If they saw the guy again, they were to follow him to his residence. "Got it, Mr. Chun." After Sasha left the office, Cole's eyes narrowed, a cold glint flashing within them. Did they really think he was some benevolent saint? He would find out who was behind this. The next day at Eastwood Tech, Jasmine didn't see the man. She started to think she had misjudged the situation. But on the third day, she ran into him again. This time, Julian wasn't waiting outside the MBA classroom. He was in the middle of the path to the cafeteria, creating a chance encounter. He had restrained himself yesterday. Today, he was eager to make some progress. Creating more encounters was the first step to building the illusion of success. Today, he was wearing a form-fitting t-shirt that accentuated his chest muscles. Paired with a bright but not over-the-top smile, he felt pretty good about himself. This look usually charmed plenty of older women. He waved casually, his smile turning playful, like a wild, untamed youth. "Hey there, we meet again." "Ugh." Alex let out a long, dramatic sigh. Neither of them looked at him, continuing on their way to the cafeteria. Julian's face froze. That arrogant? They wouldn't even glance at him? After a moment's thought, he jogged backward to catch up. A few students passing by were upperclassmen. Seeing this, their interest was piqued. Who's that fearless guy? Definitely not an upperclassman. Anyone at Eastwood Tech above sophomore year knew who Jasmine Yon belonged to. Hey, it must be fate that we keep meeting. Why don't we go to the cafeteria together? Just as Julian finished speaking, his heel caught on the pavement, and he fell flat on his butt. It looked comical, but inside he was a little smug. He had fallen on purpose. It created the persona of someone with a goal, but who was also endearingly clumsy. He looked up at his target, expecting to see the corner of her mouth twitch into a smile. Instead, all he saw was the back of her head. She had already quickened her pace and was several yards away. Hey, wait for me. Julian scrambled up and chased after her, continuing to build his persona. Just as he caught up to her, thinking of a witty line, he heard Jasmine's sharp, angry voice. Get lost. The voice wasn't loud, but it stunned Julian. He looked at her eyes, filled with anger and disgust, and was momentarily speechless. I already gave you an out by ignoring you, and you still won't leave. Jasmine's eyes were cold. She glanced at him once and didn't want to look again. You think your little act is so clever? You're asking for trouble. If she wasn't afraid of dirtying her shoes, she would have kicked him already. Alex had warned him 2 days ago, and he still came back. He was a fool who treated everyone else like they were the fools. Alex added, You're in big trouble now. No, you've misunderstood. Julian was at a loss. This was a completely unexpected turn of events. How could she turn on him so suddenly? Hello, campus security? There's someone who has snuck onto campus and is harassing female students. Jasmine had already dialed the number for Eastwood Tech security office. First, get him kicked off campus. Then, others would deal with him. No, that's not what I meant. Julian tried to explain, then thought better of it and turned to run. If he got caught by security, he'd definitely never get back in. Dozens of yards away, Sasha and another female bodyguard followed him. Let's go, Jasmine said. How annoying. Her good mood was ruined. That's it? Your brother isn't going to deal with him? Alex asked, confused. Don't be ridiculous. What does my brother have to do with this? We don't even know this person. Jasmine glared at her. No matter how this was handled, her brother had nothing to do with it. She added a word of caution. Alex, if you want to climb higher, you need to speak appropriately. I know, Alex said, lightly tapping her own mouth, immediately chastened. At the campus gate, Julian was found by security and escorted out. He was blacklisted. A complaint from a graduate student and a high-level executive at Headline Today had to be taken seriously. Dejectedly, Julian went to the roadside to hail a cab. He couldn't get on campus anymore, so he'd have to wait at the gate or stake out the Headline Today office. Why was his target so temperamental? Her personality was so strange. $50,000 was hard-earned, but he wasn't discouraged. A challenge was good. If it was too easy, it would be boring. If he just created a few more chance encounters, he could get the effect he wanted. If she yelled at him to get lost again, he'd just shout something like, "Don't break up with me," to create a misunderstanding among onlookers. If he did enough, the fake would start to look real, and his goal would be achieved. He slid into a taxi that had stopped, heading back to his apartment. He was in no mood to notice the 2 other women hailing a cab nearby. Back at his building, he picked up an order of braised pork ribs and went upstairs. His plan was to eat, take a nap, and then go out for a night of fun to relax. Sasha and her colleague followed him to the 8th floor, confirmed which apartment he entered, and then left. Their part was done. At 11 o'clock that night, the city's night owls were just waking up. Julian, full of energy, left his apartment. If he could pick up a girl tonight, that would be great. Free fun. As he passed the fire escape, an arm shot out and grabbed him. The grip was strong, and he was completely unprepared. He was yanked into the stairwell. The lights in the stairwell were on. Standing there were 6 burly men with buzz cuts, their faces menacing. They blocked the way up, down, and out. Julian realized he was in trouble. He forced a smile. Brothers, I think you've got the wrong guy. We didn't get the wrong guy. Julian, right? The old lady killer. Who doesn't know you in the bars around here? The leader, a man in his 30s, sneered. I don't know any debts. What do you want with me? Julian swallowed hard, his heart pounding. Of course we want something. If you cooperate, you might suffer a little less. But you're definitely going to suffer. And after you suffer, you're going to keep your mouth shut. You get that, right? If you don't, I can teach you. The buzz-cut man patted Julian's cheek. I'll cooperate. I'll definitely cooperate. And I'll definitely keep my mouth shut. Julian didn't dare resist. His legs were already weak. These guys might not kill him, but a beating would definitely hurt. He could end up with internal injuries. He still needed his face to make a living. Talk. What job did you take recently? The man said, his eyes cold. Don't try to be clever. Tell us everything, and you'll suffer less. Julian was horrified. They were here about that job. They'd found him so quickly. After a 3-second hesitation, he spilled everything. He was done with his job. Very good. This was an easy score for us, boys. Thanks for your help. The leader turned off his phone's recording app and then nodded at Julian. The others swarmed him. In 2011, small apartment buildings had no management and the stairwells had no cameras. It was the perfect place for a conversation. The other tenants heard the commotion but didn't dare come out to look. Julian curled up on the floor, not protecting anywhere but his face. He didn't dare cry out in pain. He could tell from their accents that they were locals. After the conversation, the leader snapped a couple of photos. He crouched down. Find a new city. Someone finds you annoying to look at. You hear me? I hear you. Julian sobbed. He still clutched his face, afraid of another hit, even though it was already swollen. He would never stay in Rockford again. He usually just mingled in the rich old lady circle. He'd never dealt with people like this. One last thing. Keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, you might accidentally slip and fall into the river one day. That would be a shame, the leader said, kicking him lightly as a warning. I know. Don't worry, boss. I'll definitely keep my mouth shut. Julian nodded vigorously. The next morning, Cole woke up to a message on his phone. 2 women with bodyguards? He immediately thought of Sabrina, Ning, and Sophia's song. Who else could it be? What a pathetic bitch. A wave of annoyance and anger washed over him. He patiently washed up and went downstairs. There were some things he couldn't get involved in directly, and he certainly couldn't let it escalate to violence. But a lesson had to be taught. In his office, he opened his email and listened carefully to the recording. Then, using an anonymous account, he wrote up the story and posted it on Headline Today, giving it a featured spot from the back end. The other news aggregators would surely pick it up and spread it to their blogs and portals. Before he contacted the chairman of Viridian Global, that dead woman's reputation had to be ruined. She would have to face disciplinary action from Eastwood University. Soon, a breaking story appeared on Headline Today. Shocking. Eastwood Arts student Sabrina and Ning caught doing this. The content was a recording detailing how she had hired a man in a bar to harass Jasmine Young, a graduate student at Eastwood Tech and an executive at Headline Today. It described how he was rebuked and then kicked out by security. According to an eyewitness, the person who hired him was Sabrina Ning from the Eastwood University School of Arts. The story was quickly shared and spread like wildfire. Soon, it was all over the internet. Seeing that the story had gained enough traction, Cole posted a condemnation from his own account. I just saw the news online. I am deeply saddened and shocked by this student's actions. I am also very concerned for the safety of our executives at Headline Today. And I am deeply disappointed in the Eastwood School of Arts. I would like to ask Dean Liu, it seems your star pupil has some serious character flaws. After posting, he called Warren Ning, the chairman of Viridian Global. His secretary answered, "Hello, Mr. Chun. How can I help you?" Her voice was no longer arrogant, but gentle and respectful. "Tell Mr. Ning to get online and see what his precious daughter has been up to." Of course, at the Eastwood School of Arts, Sabrina was sitting in class, her face a thundercloud. She hadn't heard a word the professor said. A roommate had just messaged her, telling her to check the news. After reading it, she was furious. That useless piece of trash. Her phone vibrated. It was her father. She couldn't ignore it. Excusing herself from class, she went outside and reluctantly answered. "Hello, Dad," she said, trying to sound calm. "What have you done?" Warren Ning's voice was icy. Nothing. Why do you ask?" Sabrina instinctively denied it. "Are you going to tell me, or should I ask Chung?" "Dad, Sabrina's heart tightened. Chung was the head bodyguard. If her father asked him, he would definitely tell him everything. "How could you be so foolish? I told you to transfer schools before, and now you've caused even more trouble." "Dad, transfer schools. I'll contact Dean Liu in a moment. If you don't, who knows what will happen. I'll handle the rest." After hanging up, Sabrina's face was ashen. First, because she had to transfer. Second, because of the looks from her classmates. It was scorn and disgust. Even the boys who had previously admired her no longer said hello. She seethed with hatred. "Just you wait, Cold Chun. You've left me no room to maneuver." At Headline Today, an hour later, Warren Ning's call finally came through. "Mr. Ning, Mr. Chun, I apologize. My daughter was willful and reckless. As her father, I failed to discipline her properly. I'm truly sorry." "Sorry is useless, Mr. Ning. You need to give me a proper explanation. Sabrina Ning has caused me trouble time and time again. This time, she dared to go after my company's executives and my sister." "A simple sorry won't cut it," Cole said with a light laugh. Trying to brush this off? No way. His girls were his bottom line. There was a long silence on the other end. Then the tone grew heavy. "What kind of explanation do you want, Mr. Chun?" "I, the chairman of a Fortune 500 company, am apologizing to you. Is that not enough? Of course not. There are 500 Fortune 500 chairmen. One less won't make a difference. There are plenty of replacements. I may be young and inexperienced, with not much of an empire, but I have the guts to go for mutual destruction. If I don't get an explanation, I'll take all the money I've earned and find one myself. Silence again. Cole's eyes narrowed, his voice devoid of emotion. Mr. Ning, I'm already being very generous. You're not trying to bully me because I'm young and naive, are you? Sabrina is still at school. If my anger isn't appeased, I might just become very naive. Mr. Ning, I can mobilize $200 million. Can you? To mobilize even $100 million, you'd probably need the approval of your other shareholders, wouldn't you? And would they approve for this? Are you willing to risk your chairmanship to go to war with me? Huh. Arrogant, the voice on the other end said coldly. Your family is the one bullying people. Who's the arrogant one? Cole laughed softly. I hear your real estate division in Rockford has been involved in some forced demolitions. Coincidentally, I know some of the people who helped with that. A shareholder in my Slice video. You may not know her, but you've definitely heard her family. I also hear your company is bidding against another local company for a piece of land. The breathing on the other end grew ragged. A cold light flashed in Cole's eyes. Mr. Ning, why don't we see who blinks first? You're a man with shoes on. You're surely not afraid of a barefoot kid like me. I'll bet $100 million on myself. The line went quiet. Neither of them spoke. After a long moment, Warren Ning's tone softened, though it sounded like he was suppressing a volcano of rage. Mr. Chun, this doesn't sound like an internet entrepreneur. Huh, Mr. Ning, I'm just a barefoot student. I'm not afraid of anything. I don't harm people, but I won't be harmed either. I can lose $200 million and earn it back. If you lose your position, can you get it back? And maybe it's not just your position you'll lose. The sound of ragged breathing came from the other end, as if he were slowly suffocating. Then a muffled, urgent voice from a distance. My medicine? Quick! Cole waited patiently, not wanting the old man to have a heart attack. He wasn't joking. He was prepared to do it. A person can only be pushed so far. Money was just a tool. If it was gone, he could earn more. For 1 or 200 million, plenty of people would line up to help. After a long while, Warren Ning's voice came back, much weaker. Fine, I'll give you an explanation. I'll have my daughter transfer schools and issue a public apology online. Is that acceptable, Mr. Chun? No. If an apology was enough, what if someone threw a bucket of shit on her and then issued an apology? What do you want? Haha, Mr. Ning, I don't want anything. Just buy some ad space on headline today. A $3 million deposit. But I can't guarantee the results, Cole proposed with a cheerful smile. Not guaranteeing the results meant it was a gift. Disguised as an ad bot. Impossible. Warren Ning refused flatly. Then we have nothing to talk about. I'd like to see if a Fortune 500 chairman has 2 hearts. Cole's eyes blazed, his temper flaring. To maintain deniability, he had spoken in code, but the other man surely understood. Mr. Chun, don't be so emotional. I'm saying that's too much. A little less. $500,000, and I'll buy you a coffee. $2.5 million. $1 million. That's my limit. $2 million. That's my bottom line. If you don't agree to this ad buy, I'm hanging up. Mr. Ning, you're the one in the wrong here. I'm the one being generous. You force my hand. Your troublemaking darling daughter is about to have an unfortunate accident involving a vat of shit. Cole's expression began to contort. He would do it. A tragic fall into an uncovered manhole at Eastwood University. Perfectly normal. Mr. Chun, you're pushing it. Mr. Ning, you stole my line. $2 million. Fine. I'll buy the ad. But Mr. Chun, you've lost Viridian Global as a friend. Thank you, Mr. Ning. I could never hope to be worthy of Viridian Global's friendship. My anger will vanish when I see the money. Huh. Good. A young hero. The makings of tycoon. A pity you'll have no friends. My mother taught me from a young age not to hang out with scumbags. The line went dead. Cole's fierce expression softened into calm. Huh. The rich are always afraid to lose what they have. So be it. No friends was better than one more enemy. As for dealing with Sabrina, a couple of slaps was useless. The pain would fade, and the memory with it. Real benefits were what mattered. Let her father deal with her now. This money couldn't be transferred directly. That would be extortion. It had to be an ad buy, and it was highly likely that Warren Ning would pay for it out of his own pocket. Corporate funds weren't something a chairman could move at will. 2 hours later, Luna sent him a message. A small company from Florida had registered an account and deposited $2 million. He also received a text from Warren Ning. Payment received. Received. Goodbye and good riddance. Huh. Be careful in the future, Mr. Chun. You too. Cole was well aware that threats weren't the main event, but they were a necessary part of the performance. The man's initial attitude was, in itself, a threat, a clear display of the arrogance of an old money family enterprise. His daughter commits a major offense, and he thinks a simple apology will suffice, as if his status were a golden ticket, as if refusing it would be a personal insult. Cole couldn't tolerate that, so of course he pushed back hard. Viridian Global was indeed massive, but it was not the same as Ning himself. The corporation was a formerly state-owned enterprise that had been privatized. The government still held a 13% stake, down from 30% after years of gradual erosion. And the Ning family certainly didn't have absolute control. From what Cole knew, the patriarch was still alive, and Warren had 4 siblings, all with shares. That didn't even count the uncles, cousins, and the minor shares held by regional managers and cronies. The company was a hornet's nest of factions. If this were some cheesy CEO drama, Cole would have backed down immediately, swallowing his pride to avoid a line like, $1 billion. I want him to disappear from this world in 3 minutes. But this was reality. No one could mobilize the full force of a corporation over a personal grudge, not even the family head. There were too many interests at stake. The only time the entire family and company would act as one was to fight for profits, like a hostile takeover. Warren Ning's annual salary as chairman wouldn't exceed $5 million. He couldn't just pull out billions on a whim like in the movies. The rest came from dividends, which weren't paid out monthly. Sometimes it took years for a distribution. If they paid everything out, the company would have no capital for expansion. As board members, they had other sources of income, small companies in the names of their wives and relatives, ensuring the lucrative corporate contract stayed within the family. It was a common practice for seemingly unrelated companies to compete for the group's business, when in reality, they were all insiders. Cole didn't underestimate a Fortune 500 chairman, but he didn't need to be overly worried either. In reality, they weren't that powerful. Of course, to an ordinary person, they were titans. But to someone who understood their structure, it was a different story. A dispute between them would trigger a significant chain reaction. Viridian Global was a publicly traded company. It couldn't withstand instability. If the stock price fell, Warren Ning's ousting was a certainty. With so many people's livelihoods tied to the stock, a personal feud was nothing. The typical shareholder sentiment was, your whole family can die, just don't touch my stock price. If the stock fell, Cole wouldn't even have to lift a finger. The shareholders would turn on Warren themselves. And if Warren were to be ousted, his entire faction of executives would be purged. It wasn't hard to imagine that between his daughter and his position, Warren would inevitably choose the latter. This was why Cole dared to be so confrontational. Warren tried to bully him for his youth. He bullied Warren for being tied to a system where one wrong move could bring the whole house down. As for playing dirty, Cole had little to fear. In Rockford, he was practically a local power. He also had Vanessa Fan on his side. With local forces backing him, it was difficult for outside influence to penetrate. This wasn't some lawless backwater. The Ning family was in manufacturing, constantly fighting for resources, and had many enemies. Cole was in the internet business, a news aggregator, with only other tech companies as rivals. And as for Linden Creek, he was even less concerned. The Young family's employees were all locals. Just like in Florida, the sense of community in Linden Creek was very strong. Besides, targeting family was out of the question. Cole wouldn't go after Warren's wife or kids. That would be a stupid move, instantly branding him as a gangster. The real power plays were legal. To put it subtly, the law protects the interests of the common person, but it also protects the interests of the rich. Cole had no skeletons in his closet, but Viridian Global had plenty. Its enemies were typically in the same industry and had their own skeletons, so they wouldn't easily expose each other. Cole had no such reservations. As for sending a rogue dump truck, that was a tool reserved for cutting off loose ends, not for personal vendettas. Otherwise, the world would be full of them. It's why he wasn't afraid of the Shun family. They played by the rules of polite society. They would get angry, and they would strike if he gave them a legal opening, but they would never have him killed. That would be absurd. The world would be chaos. It's why the tech giants hadn't assassinated each other. The CEO of Vantage Ventures had literally said he wanted to change the banking system. Any crackdown, any feud, had to first and foremost abide by the law. It had to follow the rules. Those who didn't play by the rules would be collectively targeted and become public enemies. It was like in ancient royal courts. Why didn't they just assassinate their political rivals? Because there were rules. Cole pushed these thoughts aside. The $2 million hitting his account put him in a good mood. The year-end bonuses could be a little more generous this year. As for Sabrina, She could go home and face her father's wrath. Ning was out $2 million. She was definitely in for a tongue lashing. 2 days later, the Eastwood School of Arts issued a public notice, criticizing Sabrina Ning's behavior and giving her a severe warning. Soon after, news spread around campus that Sabrina had transferred. At the same time, another piece of news captured the students' attention. The Eastwood Entrepreneurial Operations Simulation Competition had begun, sponsored by the Office of Academic Affairs and organized by the College of Economics. Right now, Cole was on the phone with Professor Zhang, a director from the Academic Affairs Office. "It's my duty, Professor Zhang. As a company that started at Eastwood, it's only right for Headline Today to sponsor the prize money. Cole, your dedication to Eastwood has deeply moved us old teachers." Professor Zhang's voice was full of emotion. "Without Eastwood, there would be no me and no Headline Today. I will never forget what the university has done for me. When the Tea Alchemist was being harassed by troublemakers, it was you, Professor, who worked so hard to resolve the issue. Sponsoring an event is the least I can do. It's an honor," Cole said, holding a deep squat in front of his leather CEO chair, his voice full of gratitude. A small, fair hand was gripping his arm. "We understand your sentiment, Cole. Study hard. If you decide to go to grad school later, I can recommend you," Professor Zhang said cheerfully. "I will, Professor Zhang. I'll definitely study hard," said Cole, the class skipper Chun, his voice full of conviction. After hanging up, he put down his phone, feeling pleased. The sponsorship wouldn't cost much. It was a gesture to build goodwill. After all, he was the king of skipping class. Eastwood University was a great tree, providing shade from many of the backstabbing tactics he faced. In front of the university leadership, Cole was always humble. "Brother, this is dangerous. What if Jasmine comes? I'll get in trouble," Luna whispered, her voice tiny. She was leaning back in the CEO's leather chair, her eyes pleading. She continued in a negotiating tone. "Can we do this at home tonight? Please, sweetie." "But you're not." "Talking about business," Luna stammered, sometimes biting her lower lip, sometimes her small mouth agape. "Sell some more Bitcoin. Small, continuous sales. Sell 50,000 coins," Cole said, getting down to business while also being busy with business. "Okay." Luna's reply was strained. She had come in to report on the financial work, and somehow, it had turned into this. Her pleas were useless. Although, she didn't really want to plead, but Jasmine had warned her. It was so frustrating. Cole glanced at his phone. There was still half an hour until lunch break. No one would likely disturb them. He wasn't that interested in Bitcoin anymore. In November, it had climbed back up to $30, driven by some international events and a lot of shady backroom deals. As a legitimate entrepreneur, it was better for him to get out early. There was no need to sit on a gold mine, waiting for pennies to fall from the sky. He would keep 100,000 as a souvenir. Whether it was the tech giants of his time or the later automotive tycoons, their wealth came from their products. They used Bitcoin as a currency, not as a way to make money. Those 100,000 coins could be used for special purposes. For example, if one day Ning decided to cause trouble, Cole used to think he could make a fortune with Bitcoin. But after this past year, he suddenly understood. Real wealth came from products, and it was stable and safe. Selling 100,000 Bitcoins at $30 each was only $3 million. It sounded like a lot, but it would take a long time to sell that many. Headline Today's monthly revenue was already a massive figure. The risk of being hacked to hold on to it for a future windfall was no longer worth it. In a few more years, Cole was confident he would be doing just fine on his own. A phone rang. It wasn't Cole's. Luna picked up her phone from the desk and glanced at it. "It's Felicity. She must have a question. I need to take this." She put a finger to her lips. "Go ahead," Cole said quietly, leaning down again. As a great idealist, he would never interrupt his little darling's work. "Hello, Felicity," Luna said, placing a hand on Cole's head, trying her best to sound normal. "Luna, the financial report for Slice Video is done. I sent it over. Take a look as soon as you can," Felicity said. I'll look at it in a bit." "Oh no, this afternoon." Luna's face was flushed. She probably wouldn't have time for a while. Her brother's discussions tended to be long. "All right, well, look at it as soon as you can. I personally think some of the costs are a little high," Felicity advised. "Okay, I know. I'll look at it first thing this afternoon," Luna nodded. The financial audit was her idea. She had even asked Felicity to set up an auditing team. A qualified financial executive needed to be skilled not only in capital management, control, reporting, and budgeting, but most importantly in auditing. Auditing was the foundation of financial work. Many senior financial personnel tended to overlook it, focusing only on capital allocation, salary costs, or investment data. But Luna had discovered the importance of auditing. It was meticulous, tedious work, the kind of thing many financial professionals hated. But only by having a comprehensive view could you know if there were imbalances in the company. A strange sensation interrupted her thoughts. She quickly tried to end the call. Felix, ITY, let's talk this afternoon. I'm busy for a bit. Okay, are you all right? You sound a little congested. Don't catch a cold, Felicity said with concern. I'm not sick, I'm fine. I have to go. Talk to you this afternoon. With that, Luna hung up. She tilted her head back, her small mouth wide open, as if in agony over the financial audit. Lou, what's wrong? You don't have a cold, do you? Cole asked, his face a mask of sincere concern. Of course, he had to support his little financial darling's work. Brother, Luna whimpered, but immediately caught herself, clamping her mouth shut. As the VP of finance for an internet company, handling pressure was a necessary skill. No matter how great the pressure, she couldn't show it. If someone else heard, they might think she wasn't up to the task. Lou, what's wrong? Cole asked, his face full of concern, quickly checking her condition. She seems fine. Probably not a cold. After a while, the office fell silent. Brother, Jasmine will be angry, she said. Luna gasped for breath, her sentence trailing off. What did she say? Cole asked, curious. I can't tell you, Luna said, covering her flushed face with her hands. This position was so embarrassing. She wanted to cover everything. Why not? Cole was even more curious. It's girl talk. I can't say. Come on, tell me. Just a whisper. She said. Not too much. Not too much of what? Of this. She said it's bad for your health. It's not too much. It's been a little much these past few days, Luna said, no longer covering her face. She wrapped her arms around Cole's neck, her expression full of deep affection and shyness. Brother, you have to listen to me. Too much is bad for a woman too. It makes you age faster. What if you don't like me anymore? Some things were indeed blissful, like flying on a cloud. After Jasmine had talked to her, she had looked it up. It was true. For women, just like men, excess could lead to premature aging, even spots. To stay beautiful forever, she had to be disciplined, and she had to help her brother be disciplined. Jasmine had said her brother was greedy and insatiable. If she didn't set limits, he couldn't control himself. The future was long, the company was growing, and her brother needed all his energy. Luna knew the effect she had on her brother. She could see it in his crazed expression. She felt both happy and burdened by the weight of her duty to counsel him. How can I not like you? I like you more and more every day, Cole said, stroking her hair. She was getting more beautiful by the day. She was even learning basic dance techniques from Jasmine, enduring the pain of stretching and splits. Her hourglass figure was becoming even more supple, her allure growing ever more deadly. It wasn't just for this that the two of them were learning to dance. They saw Jasmine's perfection and had always been envious. A woman's pursuit of beauty is endless, and they were even more afraid of their bodies changing as they got older. Brother, you can't ever stop liking me. You have to love me forever, Luna said, besotted. Every fiber of her being was tied to the man in front of her. I will always like you, and I will always love you, Cole said, lightly tasting her fruity lips, turning the lies of his past life into truth. It was so worth it. She still tasted the same, her mouth sweet like fruit. Jasmine and Serena were the same. It was probably due to their lifestyle. No late nights, no junk food, no alcohol. It might sound far less exciting than other girls' lives, but they were becoming more beautiful every day. Bad odors and the like were completely foreign to them. The company of his three darlings constantly wore away the hostility he accumulated in his daily work. Headline today's growth wasn't entirely smooth sailing. There were disputes. Some advertisers had subpar products, and when the ad campaign ended, their sales would drop again. They would then try to sue for a refund of their ad fees. But Cole wasn't about to let them win. Mr. Zhao's legal team was there for that. They were his hired guns. Mr. Zhao had some quasi-official titles and was well-versed in certain rules, with a wide network. For small lawsuits, he didn't even need to get involved. His team could handle it. And Cole wasn't stingy. These legal expenses would only yield greater returns. Interestingly, after losing their lawsuits, those advertisers would still come back and recharge their ad accounts, meekly going back to improve their product quality. Advertising on Headline today was more cost-effective than anywhere else. The reach was fast. It wasn't like other websites where an ad would just sit there dead. Who clicks on pop-up ads? People would curse even if they did it by accident. Knock, 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 a knock on the office door. Yvonne called out from outside, Mr. Chun, the FCC is on the line.